Good evening, everyone. Welcome West Orange to our June 13th budget workshop. We are going to jump right in. Madam Clerk.
This is to inform the general public that this workshop is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. This notice for this workshop was emailed to the West Orange Chronicle and Star Ledger on May 31st, 2024. Councilwoman Castellino.
Present.
Councilwoman Geber Michael.
Present.
Councilwoman Scarpa.
Present.
Councilwoman Williams.
Present.
Council President Rutherford.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Do we want to? We can. Okay, will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The council is now in their workshop.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Gross, we're going to pick up where we left off, which I do believe is with the zoning office. Is that right? Unless you had
It's weird.
So
Somebody signed in as me on the phone. That's why I'm looking. Somebody signed in as me with my name.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not. It just
Remove
said
them.
Somebody signed in as me.
So why don't we remove that person from the Zoom? We can do, you can remove them. No, you should remove them.
Here.
Right, your husband's not watching.
I doubt it. He would put my name, he put his name.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm gonna remove that.
Yeah, that's inappropriate.
If you just to the front then. So-
Yeah, that's smart move on their part.
So immature and
That's
petty.
I don't know who would want to be me right now, you know?
Well,
That's
you
true,
know,
that's true,
you're
that's true, maybe,
superstar.
that's right. That's right,
I
that's
mean,
right.
come on, let me check you right now.
That's true, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, Council President and council members. I gave out the listing of the employees in my department. And you tell me where you would like to
Yes, we
start. I'm kind of all over the place. I
46.
have pages 19 and 20, 46, 48, 49, 50, and 51.
where is your org chart? You said you supposed.
There's a listing of my employees. You have it?
First like this, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
There's no, it's not really an org chart because I have
There's no
7
org
people.
or no
I have-
chart?
I have 7 people, yeah. Yeah,
Just give me a second.
Next lady. Move on.
This is one.
No, I'm fine. I just needed her to get out of my throat. We're good. Thank you.
All right, so your portion of the budget is found on which pages?
so I have 19 and 20. I have planning board, 20 board of adjustment,
19, 20, say that again?
19, 20,
Uh-huh.
46, 48, 49, and 50 is showing some of the salaries, along with page 4, which shows new positions and the current employees with additional compensation.
I am trying to bring up now.
Yeah, you go to housing code U2, right? So that goes to 51.
They're on the, okay, so
Yeah, to 51.
That's also the place.
you're on 50. You probably see on 50. There are salaries and 47. Those are salaries.
We start from the beginning. Thanks.
Yes, just give me one more second. I'm trying to pull up the digital copy. All right, so are we going to start on page
19.
19?
Okay, page 19, planning board.
Yes, all right, I have it now. So if you would like to just give us an overview of what where your department is now, where it was last year. Last
Okay.
year we cut out all the open positions, all the promotions,
Okay.
in a difficult budget year. Want to understand how that impacted the department, how you've been able to operate in the past year, and what it is you're looking to accomplish, with this budget.
Okay, thank you, Council President. So, as you can see from this sheet where I have Margaret, who is, just recently started reporting to me January of this year. We have 3 property maintenance inspectors, 2 full-time secretaries, and a retiree that works 10 hours per week. Since that time, everybody remembers my presentation last year, how I went through everything that the board secretaries do. 2 major things have happened. One mercantile license now reports, in the department, and so does lead. So I think sometimes when the council is voting, you may not see Janice Gary Adams, you may not see the name, you may not see the department, but a lot of what you're voting on, that administrative work comes into my department. Perfect example is lead. So we have a company doing that, but who's going to do the education, right? So we have residents, they're going to call the department. That's manpower. You're going to have maybe some of the postcards are going to be returned. That's manpower. We're going to have to take in checks. That's manpower. So we have 2 individuals. You have Diane and you have Jamalette, who are zoning and planning board secretaries. When Joanne Carlucci left, you're probably the only one councilwoman that remembers that. We took that position and we took those duties and put it into those 2
Yeah.
positions, and we've doubled the responsibility.
How long ago was that?
8, 9 years ago now. Yeah.
And
But-
you've not allocated those responsibilities since?
No.
The responsibilities have been reallocated. There is no person. The 2 people are supposed to be doing the zoning board duties and the planning board duties, right?
So just so I'm clear, so since in these last 8, 9 years, those
Right.
same 2 people or whatever,
Doing all this
2
extra work.
people that have absorbed those responsibilities.
Right.
from
They're
that-
new employees. They're new employees. They've been here less than 3 years, 3 years.
Okay.
Right? So since that time, now after COVID, you have more development. So the board work is more, right? You have mercantile license. We're getting ready to do in October, right? We have to go back out and do that. And we think everybody does everything online. No, there's been a line out my door. That's manpower. Now we're doing lead. All those responsibilities have to be done by somebody, and we need help. I can't stress this enough. I cannot give them one more thing to do. They're going to start making mistakes on zoning board and planning board, which is really important to the town and the development of the town. Their focus is really supposed to be on that, and there's a lot to it. To do all this other administrative work, you can take a little bit, but this is a lot. And Rose, thank God, comes in a day or 2 a week. She's a grandmother. She babysits her grandchildren. She doesn't really want to come in here. She's just helping us out. So we need help. We took on HUD inspections. We doing CCO inspections. You see all the development, all the apartments we have in town now. We have 3 inspectors. We need other people to learn those duties. In addition, I attended a class today, right? One of my recertification classes at Rutgers. So I'm speaking to one of the gentlemen. We usually wear our pins. We're kind of, that's like an old fashioned thing to do. And so today I'm certified 20 years. 2004, I was in the 2nd class of zoning officials at Rutgers.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So it was only a few of us. Of the 300 zoning officials there were maybe 4 of us that were in that original class. Someone has to learn my job. Someone has to shadow me. Somebody has to learn how to do code enforcement and zoning. I should not be the only person, love it, that knows chapter 25 and the interpretation. And so I'm saying to the administration, to the governing body, that we need somebody else to hire that will come in and learn zoning, learn code enforcement, learn all these different duties that are being put into the department. Yes, Councilwoman.
Hold on a second. Please continue. Please, finish. Are you?
That's all I got. We need help. And thank you, John. He put in 2 positions for code enforcement. And a person as a deputy, excuse me, a new position, to learn zoning, pretty much an assistant to me. In addition to raises that were not given to employees last year. The only other thing I'll say is, if you look at page 50, we have Fatima Aguilar. She's a code enforcement person that came to me from the municipal clerk's office. She is a trainee. She's making $15,000 less than the guys. Okay, doing the same job, working the same hours, bilingual. She cannot continue to be a trainee. That's on page 50.
50.
Yeah.
So these are all cut off. So
And that this would be a promotion for her. She should have gotten it last year. I understand, she didn't get it last year, but that has to be done. We can't have a woman who's doing the same job as the men, making $15,000 less than them.
On what page? I'm sorry.
Page 50, if you
Page
see,
50.
it says code
So you have
enforcement
print-
officer trainee. She'll be in the job 3 years this September. She was supposed to be promoted the year after.
So my. What is the
Councilman
question?
Fair.
So the two positions that so they're here. The code enforcement trainee. you
Correct.
need two, really on that level, two code enforcement officer trainees on that level. That's your ask for this year, plus to make, to catch up with the promotions that were due last year.
Correct. In addition to, someone, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, on page 47, these are on different pages. I apologize.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a little confusing.
I don't know,
Sorry
you're all
about
over
that.
the place. Page 47 shows a new position, which is a deputy head and assistant zoning official. I mean, in this climate, and speaking to people, it's probably going to be difficult to hire somebody, but that is key to have someone to start to learn zoning. That's really,
So my question for you is that going to be enough so now with your department is taking on economic development. So now let's talk about Nishawayne Group for a minute.
okay.
Your
I thought I was going to talk about this first. Don't worry, I
Okay,
got
then.
Nishawayne sitting right
Oh,
here.
you do? Okay.
Yes.
Because I'm just
Yes.
trying to figure out
Yeah.
the additional responsibilities now that fall on your department.
So that's different.
with-
That's separate. So remember,
Okay.
we're in 3 divisions. So I have HUD Section 8, Margaret, right?
Yes, okay.
We
so we're
do
doing
those
this one first.
inspections under code enforcement, right? And then you have the boards. Economic
So you have
development,
that in the other one.
right? So I wouldn't put economic
Well,
development on here because that's a vendor,
Okay.
so that's not
Well,
a
the reason
full-time
I
employee
brought
that
it up now
reports to
was
me.
On was it 19 was the 112 for the economic.
Yeah, that's separate.
developer.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, okay.
So
I thought we're going
to-
in
To be
page order.
clear, the mayor's recommended budget includes the 3 new positions, which are 2 additional inspectors and a deputy department head for the department, as well as promotions for the 2 clerical
Yes.
as well as FAT. So those are all included in the mayor's recommended budget.
And that
So,
is
so that we're clear on that. So I'm just clear. You have 3 positions. One is a deputy department head.
correct. It's on page 5, Council President. I'm sorry.
Well, I've got that one on page
Okay.
47. I don't know what,
It's showing both places.
Okay, it shows both places.
we've
Okay,
got 2 inspectors.
correct.
And and we have the promotions that we went at without last year.
Yeah, they're
Correct.
calculated in.
They're keyboarding clerk 1,
Right, so now they're moving to 2.
That's correct.
correct.
Got it.
Even though they are zoning and planning board secretaries.
So help me understand, Mr. Gross, I'm on page 47. This 52,000, is that the increase for the deputy department head or is
That person doesn't exist.
That is an amount to cover the rest of the year.
So that's
That's
so
partially-
double
That's
that.
a partial year for
Okay.
that position.
Okay.
I have a question. Instead of a deputy, wouldn't it be more beneficial for you to hire 2 more clerks in there to help with all this? Instead of 1 person at $100,000, because half the year, 55, you get 1 person at 100,000 versus 2 entry level starting at 35.
Well, we have the 2 code enforcement people that we're hiring, hopefully.
And they're gonna help like when people come in with like filling out applications.
They're going to be trained on everything. So the way I manage The property maintenance inspectors know how to do CCOs. They know how to type them up if somebody's out sick. That's just the way our department works. We work as a team. But you don't want to continue to do that because they're really not supposed to do that. So the new people I would hire, first of all, they have to start learning zoning. That's separate from code enforcement. Two separate codes. Chapter 14 is code enforcement. Chapter 25 is zoning. So the people I would hire would learn zoning. Yeah. The administrative help, yes, they will learn that also. Yeah,
They can wear multiple hats.
they're gonna have to if I can find the people.
So, but what happens then with the civil service? What if the civil service finds out they're working out of the scope of their title?
You can always work down, you can't work.
Right. So the administrative work is lower than the code enforcement work. I don't know if the people exist. I just know we need,
You need them.
yeah.
Yeah.
we gotta
What type
start.
of certification is required for a zoning official or code enforcement?
So currently they have to go to the Rutgers class, which is about 3 weeks, pretty expensive training.
Do we have any type of tabulation on what that would cost?
It's about $1,300 for the class. And in addition, that I didn't bring up yet, what's coming down the pike is that our code enforcement people, Will, Lou, and Fatima, are going to have to attend the fire official class. Because that is coming down the pike that anybody that does CCO inspections, you're gonna have to have the fire officials certification now too.
Have training in the budget?
I have training in my budget. I just want to let you know that's.
Does that remove, so why, can you help me understand why that would be the case? Don't we have?
This is coming from the state.
So our fire official will no longer do it?
They don't do it now, we do it.
Right.
So years ago, Council President, we merged the CCO department, as far as what we did, as far as the fire official, the fire inspection, and CCO, we merged it together because it was better for the residents. So they don't have to go down by Kathy and then come to us. It was 2 separate inspections. We merged it together. Perry, Mike, and Will were certified as fire officials. And
So, I
they've
mean,
been doing
I've
that.
been present in businesses where there was a fire inspection and it was a fire personnel that did it.
That's
Those are
true.
different, those are
Yeah.
different inspections.
Yeah, you're talking about commercial?
That's different.
Well, that would be the construction official. We're talking residential. Yeah, residential. So with the commercial, if there's a mixed use, if you have an apartment and you have, say, I don't know, Tony's Nails at the bottom, both of us would go. Because you have residential and commercial. But the residential, we have Will, but we're gonna have to send Lou and Fatima to the fire official class, which is a month and a half off of work. It's every day at the fire academy.
If I could just interject too, because I was familiar with all, there's, the fire code in the general in the state of New Jersey is vast and wide. And actually just, director, it's actually the fire inspector position. They're all inspectors. There's only one fire official who's duly appointed by the town council who works for the fire department. He administers, or that person administers New Jersey Administrative Fire Code. What the director's talking about is that we used to also always go out years ago when I was involved over there, that we would send out the trucks and go do fire inspections and change CCOs. It did make sense for office to pass it over to the planning and zoning office. And so we have fire officers, captains who are inspectors. We only have one fire official, which is now captain, who oversees the entire program. But we also have in the building department, the fire subcode official, which is through the UCC code. So there's various components in the fire industry or the fire safety that involves all the different departments. And now what they're trying to do is merge this together, and with the assistance of the planning and development, and they're going to be required. Now we're going to have even more people who are going to be highly trained, which I would tell you, I would recommend that as well, because I think it's a very good title, license to have. It makes our people much more aware and astute of issues that can help them, identify issues that we can deal with through the fire code.
And the 2 inspectors is enough to handle the additional responsibilities for the mercantile license work and the lead work?
Yes. Yes. They'll be full-time.
So you'll be whole if you get the.
Well, if we find the people, yeah.
Are you looking to promote someone to the deputy position, or are you looking to hire from the outside?
Excellent question. I've had some conversations with one individual. I don't know if they want to do it.
Okay.
They kind of witness what I do. So it's a shame to say, but, I don't know. I've had other people from other departments also approach me about possibly, I guess people looking at the budget, about possibly coming into my department too. People that do other type of inspections.
What kind of skill set do they need? That person.
Common sense is the biggest one. Knowing the code, and then we train them on the road. We trained Fatima. We were with Fatima probably 8 months. She was never by herself. On the code, on what to do, on taking an inquiry, how to write up a violation notice, how to go to court, which is a big part of it.
Yeah, you
How to
need
write a
communication skills.
summons. If you have to go to trial, what you're supposed to do. Knowing the code, using common sense and the interpretation of the code.
But those are skills you'll get on the job.
You're gonna get them on the
expecting-
job, yeah. And Rutgers used to do a code enforcement class. When Perry and I started, we went to a class with the East Orange inspectors, Montclair inspectors. They don't give that class anymore. There is a HUD class that we got through, that Fatima took, I think it was like 6 weeks. And they show you how to do inspections online, how to visually look at a house. You look at the front, you look at the two sides, you look at the rear. You go in the backyard if you're allowed to. There's a no trespassing side. You look at the roof, you go in, you look at like they go through all those step by step. So there is some training, some classes, but a lot of it is on the job. A lot of it.
And the additions that we have here, and the promotions that we have, given the amount of, development we already see happening, and the potential over the next few years, this should keep us for a while, or?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think so. I think for me, two of the biggest issues is one, finding people, right? That's one. And two, the infrastructure we have, because we're gonna need computers and desks and all those
Yeah.
different things. And we're really pretty landlocked upstairs if you've been upstairs. So that's a whole nother thing to worry about as far as where do I put the people? I mean, I walk up and down because code enforcement's down on the other end, the zoning board and planning board is at this end, and we have to figure out some way to kind of combine if we add additional personnel so that we're all together. I mean, it only makes sense. So, yeah, that's a whole nother separate thing, including technology, there's,
I wanted to speak to the technology portion, if I may.
okay.
Thank you for the reminder. What technology do you all use? Because in planning and zoning in other communities, it's completely automated. So as far as going to do your mercantile law license, do an application for a CCO online, and a lot of your other municipalities, we don't contact those people. So if we had some type of system in place, that would relieve a lot of the pressure off of your assistants or your secretary of staff, because really all of that should, taxes,
Mhm,
our entire system should be
Mhm,
automated.
mhm.
And I'm just wondering, what do we use?
mhm.
We've
So-
we've engaged a firm,
Mhm.
and that is, we're in the process of developing out all of the software. I'll call them sub programs for each individual department. So that, and Janice can talk a little bit because they've already started some of the homework on starting that, but you're absolutely right. And that's definitely an area that certainly by the end of this year, beginning of next year, we should be online, but.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. So we are antiquated. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And as far as HUD inspections now, we have a new system. The guys are on their phones. They can actually do violations on their phone. They can tick them off, right? Our regular inspections are not included yet. That's a separate system. That's what John is speaking to, that we're supposed to have it by the end of the year. When you go over to the boards, when you talk to Jamilette and Diana, everything is pretty much antiquated. If you come in for a CO, you're selling your house, right? You come in, you give us a check, money order, whatever, we put it in Community Pass. They're standing, this is
So
Manpower,
Community
right?
Pass is the system that
Right?
you
So
all are still
Community
using?
Pass, and then we give you a receipt, and then we set up your inspection. So that's a person standing
And
at,
that'll be included.
right?
in
So
that.
that's where, that's why I think, to your point, Council President, we're gonna have enough staff once that is, but right now, there's a person doing all of that,
Mhm. Mhm.
scheduling everything,
And so will this
Yeah,
system have the
scheduling
capacity
everything.
to, for instance, if someone comes in and they need to do something with their CO, will that change of information be automated through all of the departments? So it'll go to the tax office, it'll go, if they have a dog license, now the dog license
Pull through.
will
everything.
automatically be
It's a single
updated.
system that's going to cross over into every department. So to the extent that other departments need access to that information, they'll have immediate access to that as well.
And so, but that's a concern when you say if other departments do need access. So what type of checks and balances then
Social
will,
security.
there are, okay, all right.
Yeah, we currently,
They'll have to
it's-
sign in.
Yeah,
The reason it takes so long to develop, to actually implement all of this is we have to go through and identify, exactly what bits of information we have that we need, who needs access to that, who shouldn't have access to that. So that's part of what's going on now.
Thank you.
And we should have this by December, by the end of the year, in the next few months?
End of the year, beginning of the year, and these things
Yeah.
do slide. Like to say but you don't know, the obstacles you're gonna run into with software company.
yeah, it's a challenge. Internally, the technology infrastructure is a challenge because we shouldn't be writing in a book that I made up, you're going on this that shouldn't be, but that's where we are right now. Hopefully,
Most
next
of
6
your
to 8
towns,
months,
when
we'll
you
see a
start doing
change. Yeah, that's
inspections, all
that's
automated.
manpower. That's manpower. Even if they could, like, how you're gonna do the bulk pickup, if they could go online and even set up their own inspections because there'll be a calendar. That's one less body that I need to go ahead and do that. If somebody calls and it says, oh, I had an inspection at 3 o'clock, I can't come at 3 o'clock, Jim. Like, can I come at tomorrow? Then she has to go in it,
Sounds like a temporary
Labor
insanity.
intensive.
it's
And it'll be
it's a lot. It's
mitigated
a lot.
by the
Mhm.
end of the year.
And then, I know that would certainly just be an internal mechanism, but you can't just arbitrarily cancel an appointment in other communities without having to either pay some type of reschedule. I'm not suggesting that,
That'll
but
be in my new fee schedule,
right.
canceling an canceling your appointment.
They'll be able to actually make appointments online.
Right.
Online. It'll all be.
Excellent.
But you'll have people available to help for those who don't have
Yes.
online access or.
Right. There's no online access right now, even a fence permit, if you were
Well,
doing a
you just
fence.
said that people can do it online. What if I
Seniors that are
don't,
not.
yeah, seniors,
They
other.
can call.
Oh,
So
they're,
in other
they're
towns,
they're
they
welcome,
can
yeah,
call.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
they
come
can
in,
call.
yeah,
Come in.
yeah.
Kiosks in here so
Yeah.
that people can come up and do it themselves,
Yeah.
and we can assist.
We currently
Or
have them.
clearly, someone's having difficulty,
Yeah.
we're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on the second floor, we actually moved some cabinets, because I'm trying to get prepared for the new mercantile,
Look, we-
renewal in October, because it really is gonna, we expect thousands, probably.
And we've already set up a station in the planning office where people can come in and make the appointments right there and get assistance if they need it from our staff.
The problem is it's tight, guys. So
Yeah.
if you come up there, if you walk around, right where the girls sit, there's the computer. Right? So we want to move that outside to the hallway where a person can come, like they're going to the library, and they could just go in and do whatever they need to do and not really have any interaction with the staff, right? Because you really don't need it, right? Because that's manpower again. So sometimes people get frustrated, residents get frustrated. They're on the phones, both of them are on the phones, and then you have to help them at the, it's somewhat of a challenge right now. That's why we need the additional staff.
When was the last time, the software that you're using now, when was that installed?
It's gotta be 17, 18 years.
Crazy.
Yeah, Mitchell Humphrey, that's gotta be 17, 18 years.
What software you guys are using now?
That's Mitchell Humphrey. That's what we're replacing.
What is the new one you want? to
Oh,
use?
I don't know what the name of it is.
Well,
Is it Municity?
Municipal.
Municity.
The other municipalities?
17, I'm sorry.
Mitchell Humphreys came out probably 17 years.
About
ago.
17 years.
They-
ago.
They had upgraded for a while, but certainly it's well over
Yeah.
12 years
Yeah.
in its current.
And,
Yeah.
and the good thing about the company that we just, we contracted with Municity is owned by ICC, which is the International Code Council. They actually administer all the codes that most states use. So we're using the codes that they're already been used that we utilize every day. So we're meshing this together, melting it together to make it easier for everybody. So the codes are readily available and
Yeah.
and also they're New Jersey has to be unique. So we have different codes. We have to try and migrate those codes into being compliance.
But that's a capital, that's not an operations.
Right,
Let's,
right.
Let's get back to the.
And that's not just with the planning, it encompasses every department. That's our health department, you know, it's building, it's everybody, but the codes that the director uses and the building department is under the use, under ICC. which is with that.
What is the cost of this new system? The cost,
We spent approximately 20,000 up front, and then there'll be an annual cost once we're totally installed. And I think it's about 20,000 a year. And again, that's for all departments, so that's really not a lot for the client. It's a pretty reasonable system.
thank you.
There'll be transaction costs too.
Okay.
Any other questions, colleagues, on, zoning?
No.
We have,
What-
let's go. We have more to go through.
You want to talk about economic development?
That
initial-
Yes, so, Nishawane, I know you guys voted
Before we
on,
get to Nishwayne, did we have any more to go through
Oh.
on the
Zoning.
pages that we have in here, zoning? Through 50 or 51?
Well, she's gonna get to the ones that I have a question.
any questions on the new positions and what they're going to do?
Is there consent on that?
Well, I have a question. So on, you have a 30,000 for the plan.
Yes, so that, I'm gonna go over that now.
Year or?
So 30,000 for the 48. So, a few weeks ago, the council voted on, a contract, I believe it was $12,000 a month, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the new, 2024 contract that's been sent to the administration is $3,500 a month. That's for non-escrow accounts. So let me explain. When we have the planner and they do reports, right? Non-escrow are our residents. I'm coming, my deck is too big and I need a variance, right? They don't pay escrow. They just pay the application fee. They come before the board, we say yes or no. But then we have XYZ company that comes and wants to build a multi-million-dollar complex. They pay escrow because you need the consultant engineer to weigh in and you need the planner to weigh in, and they are paid per hour in an escrow account that's set up by us. So the $3,500 a month for Nishawane, I'm talking slow because I want to make sure everybody is for the non-escrow accounts, planning board and zoning board, for their planners to come in and give us reports, which are excellent, by the way, very detailed, per month. This is the old Paul Greigel, okay? So
That
that's
is-
their contract for 2024, $3,500 a month, not 12,000 a month.
Because the developers are paying the other fee for.
Correct.
Not
They
us.
actually agreed.
Correct.
They actually agreed to accept the terms and conditions of the previous contract, so it may not even be that much, but it's certainly not the 12.
Right.
The first
Right.
thing, that I wasn't at the meeting where that was adopted when I saw that. We got on the phone, and got that straight.
Yeah, because it was confusing that evening.
Yeah, Yeah.
And so I understood it because I knew that my
right,
interview with them, the developers pay for that piece of it,
right.
but the way it was written up. So I'm glad you're straightening that out
Correct.
tonight because, you know, that was the Paul Greigel piece, the piece that
Correct.
I'm concerned about.
Wait, before we
Well,
get,
before we go to economic development, let's,
No, it's
Oh,
not
oh.
even that. It's with the planner.
right, because we've still got 30,000 here for the planner.
yes,
Yes,
but this is,
This is where, it's the same.
This is what we're
whoever the
paying for
planner
the
is,
planner.
It's New Chewing Group now. For their planning services, their monthly fee comes from this line.
So
Got
it's
it,
not-
but the numbers aren't adding up to me, is what I'm
right, so
saying.
they
No,
want,
because the numbers, number one, I think the numbers in the contract still are not quite right. And so this is the same budget as previous, which they did agree to do based on that budget, and we'll iron that out. There may be,
So maybe I
there may be
This
some
was-
small fluctuations in.
So I'm just, so whether it's 2,500 or 3,500, if are we we don't have them for the full year because they didn't start in January, so.
Well, you've had a planner though, you
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, up until April, yeah.
you need at least this much. Like I said, there may be some small variance. I don't expect it to be anything that's gonna be a budget buster if it does happen. So I think you're fine with this number.
For 30, okay. Councilman Kessler, you know, and then Councilman
So
Gilbert.
my concern was with the amount we budgeted, because in the conversations when we were interviewing them and then after interviewing them and trying to figure out how the best way to utilize them, I thought there was consensus that there would be like meetings that they would come in and go over various projects, not the bigger developer projects, but even more internal stuff. For example, if at the meetings if it was decided there was a bunch of conditions like checklists and just updating things constantly and having additional meetings, is all that still going to happen? And is that going, do we have enough money budgeted for any additional meetings
So that,
they may need with your staff?
and to the extent that their service is above and beyond the planning board services, as they've done historically. If to the extent that we're going to do that, that'll be done as a separate project or a separate fee. And it'll come out of the monies that are set aside for them on an hourly basis. Because whatever it is, the clock will be running, so.
Because they were big on, coming in and with various projects to have, I guess, these discussions between economic development and planning to make.
Economic development is completely separate. From the board.
We're anticipating doing that. It's just a matter of not giving carte blanche to a vendor.
No,
From a billing
well, that
perspective.
was said from day one. Yeah.
So on an as needed basis, their attendance at meetings and such will be approved by the mayor. And accounted for, through our contract process.
So if I may
Yeah.
explain a little bit.
Yeah.
So
do.
planning on 093, planning board, this is page 19. That 112,000,
Is the
that's what you're
economic-
talking about,
The
Councilwoman.
economic development.
Right, that's different
Let's get there.
from the board work. They're two separate entities. When someone applies to the board, we need a planner. They're expected to do a planning report. They are expected to attend the meetings. They're expected to do a compliance memo.
Mhm.
That's all the $3,500 a month.
Okay.
All right,
Before
that is right, that's separate from the planning economic development where you're talking about the projects and meeting with the executive director for downtown and all that. That's separate.
That's gonna come.
That's this $112,000.
I thought we
Okay.
approved 150 though. Is where.
I know, I don't know why
Prorated.
112.
It's prorated.
Yeah, probably
Okay.
prorated for
Doesn't
the
go
year,
here.
yeah,
that was my
so,
question.
so it's two different buckets, don't get them confused, because when you start talking about conditions on a variance,
Yeah.
on an application is direct responsibility of the zoning official, which is me. Has
Okay.
nothing to do with a planner. If they say that sign is pink and it has to stay pink infinitum and forever, it's my job to make sure it stays pink, that's a condition, that's not the planner.
Okay. All right.
It's up to the planner to make the recommendations as to whether it should be pink. But the enforcement comes from the zoning
Okay.
department.
And now
Yes,
you'll have the extra person to.
correct. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So that will help with that then.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's two separate buckets.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And they've been meeting, as you know, with people. I just saw
Yes.
something today. They met with me for a few hours. I guess they met with all of you. They've
Yeah.
taken a tour of downtown. There's some bills that have been coming in regarding economic development, completely separate from planning and
And
zoning
then the
board.
bigger projects from the developers that are escrow.
They get paid by them.
that's Directly, so
Mhm.
you don't have to deal with any of that.
And there may be some planning projects that
Right,
in
to
terms
your
of
point.
zoning review and things of
Yes,
that nature.
yes, yes.
Well, what about the
Again, that'll
update
be
of all the
handled-
codes, the
that will
zoning
be handled-
codes?
That will be
So-
handled on a project basis
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
commit, and funds will be committed.
So something I've asked them to look at, that the mayor has asked me to
The
look
zoning
at, I don't
codes,
know if
yeah.
I can say, yeah, it's like the fast casual and the fast food ordinance. That's something they're gonna send a PO to the administration saying, this is what we're going to do. Please
Okay.
either approve it or don't approve it. And then we're gonna come up with an ordinance for you to consider as a governing body.
So where do you have that money budgeted?
Well, right now, it's all part of the funds that are set aside.
In the 112.
Since the
Right,
112,
the
they're gonna draw
112.
down from the 112.
You're not gonna
So I
spend-
wanted to
You're
know,
not gonna spend that.
what do we, what do we cost, what is Nishwain costing us? We've got the 150 plus the 30, so we're up to 180 plus special projects.
But you can't combine them. You can't
I don't think
combine
it's
them.
Plus special projects. I think the anticipation
Okay.
that the funds that are budgeted will cover all of the.
Yeah.
expenses.
Yeah, so the board is
Or
completely
Or maybe
separate
not even necessary, but.
from projects. If you were to say, I want you to look at, I'm making it up, transportation downtown. And that's a planning, from the planning perspective, that would draw down from the 112. They would have to issue a PO saying, it's gonna cost us $3,000 to do the study.
Mhm.
Present it to the administration. Administration's gonna say yes or no.
I would just like to make sure that we capture all of the costs for the Nishwain. Because as you know, I feel like it's gonna cost us a lot.
Sure,
Like-
I understand.
By
Sure.
definition, everything
And
is
so
like
I
that
would
is
like
captured.
to know, monthly.
Well, what I saw briefly today, Councilwoman, was detailed, like 10 minutes with Councilwoman, 15 minutes with, it was broken down. And I
Yeah,
didn't
they'll
get a
break
chance
it
to really
down.
look at it today because I was trying to come from class, but it was pretty detailed.
Mhm.
So
I'd like
you're
to
welcome to.
capture all of
Sure.
the costs.
Absolutely, that's
Which is
fair.
why all has to be pre-authorized.
Mhm.
Councilwoman Geber Michael?
So my question is, we voted on a contract a couple months ago at $12,500 a month. You're saying it's not $12,500, it's $3,500.
Yes.
a month. So does that mean that we have to rescind the old one and vote on a new updated one?
It was never it was never signed, right?
Well, we never executed,
Certified.
we
Wasn't
never
executed.
executed that contract.
But we voted on.
We executed basically the same contract, but rolled back the amount. Because I couldn't authorize that much. There was not that much available. So.
Because it didn't,
definition.
it didn't have the clarity of what was going in the escrow account versus
So
the,
why don't we vote on an
non-escrow.
updated new one then? The correct figures, because even the last one, that was from last year. We don't have one for this year. So if you think about it, we didn't vote on one for this year. We only have one from last year. So I think,
No, it was this year. That contract was for this year.
but for 12,500.
We only engaged them for 12,500. I mean,
But yeah,
we only
if I
engaged them
remember
for-
correctly,
we engaged them
read
for less.
12,500
So
per month.
you authorized us to go up, basically up to
Yes.
12,500.
for the two bucks.
We
Yeah.
did not go that high.
Right.
So there's no reason to automatically come back to you because we were well below what you authorized.
Right, so if we don't need it, you're still authorized to go up to the 1,200 and spend the rest of it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, but we're not
And
gonna.
if we don't need it, we don't
We're-
want to,
Well,
I think
no,
we're
no.
spending too much
This is
money
for
already.
planning, this is for the planning board. We're not gonna spend more than what we were spending before. So
But you are authorized because we
Can we,
did pass
one,
that.
one at a
Technically-
time, please? Time, sorry.
I just want to understand,
Sure.
so you are authorized to spend more if you want to, because we approved the 1,200.
But only on that. You
only
can't
on
take
that.
the
and-
$9,000 and put it toward.
Right,
No,
right.
no.
right.
No.
And
No.
and the fact is that we
No.
signed a contract for the smaller amount, so we really couldn't. If we wanted to sign a new contract, we'd have to come back to the council,
You would,
say,
okay.
even though it's more, even though it's with.
Yeah.
It's a different contract.
Yeah, and I would just like a monthly report on what. our costs are
Absolutely.
with Initially,
Supposed to get-
Sure, sure.
No, we haven't got.
We haven't gotten one.
we haven't gotten anything.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw something today from the secretary, because obviously it's been 2 months, so absolutely you'll have access to that.
This may be more of a question for you, Mr. Groves. I'm sorry, did Councilman?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we look at these pages where planning, zoning, I'm sorry, yeah, so if you look at 46, right? That's
Mhm.
planning and development, salary and wages.
Mhm.
That's 328,145. We
Right.
go to 48, that's planning, operating expenses. Planning and development, that's 361, right?
That's a total of both.
Yes.
That's OE and salary and wage.
So that includes salary and
Yeah, you
wages.
see the
Yeah.
bottom line, in other words, it says.
I only
total.
see the 33 at the bottom, so that was my,
On the line above it, see, says planning and development OE is the 33,000.
I see the 33, so that 33 adds to the 328.
Right, and then.
Yeah,
line
and the
below
total
says
is 361.
That's the total of the salary and wage and the OE.
So when we go to housing, we're looking at a total of 308.
Salary and wage, 30,000.
Well, 300 for salary and wages,
Sorry,
and then 7,500, we're on page.
that's correct.
So we're looking at roughly a little, almost 700,000 for the entire department. Did that outside of the consultants? Is that captured? Did I capture that?
Including the consult, that would have to include the consultant.
The consultants are on page 19.
That's just your.
Yeah, because they're
that's
under
just,
operating, that's really
housing
operating.
and-
Oh, here's the 18. Oh, yeah, I see that.
and planning.
Everything
Yeah.
that's in
Yeah.
this column.
So we've got roughly,
And align very heavily, all but 40,000 of it is salary.
got it. Just making sure I'm reading this correctly. And so your two open positions are captured under housing.
Yes, it should be.
Except for the zoning office.
And roughly you're looking at so this is roughly 50% of the total full year cost for those two new positions.
The 29,000 and 29,000, and the other one is 52,000.
Right. So these are half year
Correct,
calculations.
correct.
And I think what my colleague was getting at before is that we're able to attract talent at that level. I mean, it sounds good to me as a starting position, but I don't know.
I really, I don't know what I don't know yet. It's going to be a certain type of individual that wants a job or career, like that. I won't know until we really start looking and I start making some phone calls, maybe to some other towns and talking to some of my fellow colleagues.
So the other question that I had related to that was, instead of getting trainees, would it be better to get a seasoned professional? One, instead of two trainees, one seasoned professional at, somewhat above the roughly 60 per year, attract someone who already has an understanding of the space.
Sure, I'll bring somebody in from another town. I know somebody.
Instead of the two.
Well, gotta keep in mind, we're civil service. If you bring anybody at that, it's either going to
They have to
be
test,
by
yeah.
test
Yeah, you have to test that. Yeah,
or
yeah.
by transfer from another municipality. So your lead time, if we're not successful at finding someone, then we certainly can look at that. But you're talking about a lead time of that process of probably, 4 to 6 months. So
To attract someone who's already experienced.
right, and to go through the process, the civil service processes that are required. Because somebody's not going, in other words, we could hire somebody from another town without going through the process, and then that's provisionally, and if for some reason they don't end up getting the job, then they're out of luck. So they're not gonna do that. They're gonna wait until they're able to come to the job on a permanent basis. So.
Yeah. I
If
don't
you
know.
hire somebody from the field, from the general, they still have that same risk, but they're coming from it. They're most of the time either not employed or not happily employed, and they're looking to make a change. So they come away with a different viewpoint.
So,
We agree that ultimately, if we can't find two people at the salaries that we have it set up for, we'll have to look at other alternatives.
yeah, I'm not gonna hire anybody that's not right for the department. We have a pretty well-oiled machine upstairs.
My last question on this, at least as of right now, is a college degree required for the trainee position?
It is not. Mm-mm.
Do we work with either the high school or the county college?
So I had a conversation yesterday, with someone from Newark actually. And I really think the township just overall, not just my department, but we're gonna need subcode officials. Everybody's a little older, including myself, right? Someone that's not going to college that may have the technical skills to come in, I don't know, maybe once or twice a week and take those classes at Essex County College. They're online. We need a plumbing subcode, electric subcode, construction official.
Do you have
I think
interns?
there's, I'm sorry,
Do you have interns? Like, could you get an intern?
that, sure. I
And
mean,
maybe
that's
try
really
some-
one of my suggestions is really to work with the high school with maybe some of those seniors that may want to come in and start to learn those jobs. And with the subcode building department, it doesn't report to me, but Essex County gives the classes every semester.
And
So,
they're
I
free?
mean, and they're not
I was
free,
gonna say
but
they're
they're,
not
they're cheap. Oh, if you live in the county, they are? Oh,
That's
okay.
my understanding.
Okay, well, the zoning ones aren't, but you could bring somebody in and start really training them and
So to the point
Yeah.
of the internship program, I was at the Arts Council Luna Stage yesterday, getting set up, and they had students at Luna Stage from Newark Public Schools
I know.
because they have to have their hours
Mhm.
in order to graduate.
I told you, I just talked to somebody from Newark. I know.
So
Yeah,
that's a
I-
program that is certainly something that we can
We
utilize.
participate, we usually get about a dozen interns in the
From the
in
county?
summer program. And we never turn an intern down.
Mhm.
We don't have paid internships, but we have certainly.
But when you go with the county pays them.
County pay, and the county pays.
Mhm.
But we have a number of interns that people we're working with for internships that they're not paid, but people that they're still interested in learning. So, and we usually have them in the summertime in addition to the county program, as well as after school and during the school time. So.
Thank you.
Anything else on this part of the budget, colleagues?
No.
I just
appreciate
wanted
the
to
clarity.
add, as far as the person, to your point, Council President, about possibly just doing one. That is a consideration if this time next year I can't find anybody. And the assistant, just so you know, even though I'm director, I still serve as zoning official. So every building permit that comes in has to be reviewed by me. Every single
Yeah.
one. I have to go out on the road to review them and do site plan review. Now, I just spoke to the Livingston zoning official who's been here quite a while. She has an assistant. That's all the person does. They're a smaller town than us. And she has an assistant, and all they do is site plan review.
Yeah.
That's like 10-15% of my job.
And,
So
and you get
that,
to go to court too.
and, right, oh, you don't want to talk about court, right? So, yeah, so I'm just saying that this is.
So how
I
often do you
just-
go to court?
I'm sorry?
How often do you go to court?
Oh, I'm in court minimum once a month. You know, I'm in depositions. Everybody knows I have pretty high profile cases, so you never know how many days in a month I could be in court.
So when you're in court, is there anyone else that does the work that you have to do? For instance,
I don't have
you
anybody
some
taking my phone
deadlines.
calls. I don't have anybody reading my emails. I went to Mexico for 4 days. I came back to 400 emails and 40 permits. No.
So
That's
now-
why we need somebody in
So
the
these
job.
positions will cover that, right? Or-
Yes, I will make sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does anyone want to go back to 19 and any questions on the consultants? On the 112.5 that's on 19?
No, I just wanted to, she answered my questions on giving me a better clarity of how
Okay.
it's gonna function.
Yes. Yes.
So we are going to continue deliberating, Director. We have certainly some ways to go. I think if all of our questions are done now, Mr.
Okay.
Gross, I think we may be ready for the next one. Thank you very
I
much.
just have one more thing for capital budget, just to make sure we have working cars, because,
Say that again, for capital?
cars.
But that's for capital?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's in
Yeah.
the capital budget because we've had some issues with cars in the last few weeks. We need cars in order to do our job. So,
I am hoping to get to capital budget before September, but
okay.
Be helpful.
yeah, maybe in August if we're fortunate. We have 2 meetings in July and 2 in
Okay.
August, so
Are they in the budget? They're probably in the budget, right?
There's
Cars.
talk about.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Director.
you.
Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, are we going to, have we been approving each section
No,
as we go?
We're just taking the
We're just
full
fitting up.
and we'll deliberate back and forth. Do you want to, did you want to make some recommendations for changes now to be voted on, or I thought because
Yeah.
the way I wanted to do it was, let's
Okay.
look at the entire budget. There may be some other priorities in a different department that
Mhm.
force us to make changes
Yeah.
in a department that we've already.
And I want to look
reviewed.
at it a little more comprehensively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be difficult to remember and
Yeah.
to go back and forth like that, but.
Mr. Gross? Who do we have next? It's kind of hard, but the reason, Woman Castellino, if we made some approvals now and then.
No,
had
no,
to
I,
change later.
I get it, but okay, it's fine.
Thank you, Director.
Good evening, Council President. Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
She has her, org chart.
What is the development?
Have it? Oh, here.
I'm sorry. Organizational chart.
So regretfully, sadly, Joe Plost is no longer around. We know that some things have been moved around. And this is your first time presenting to the council in this capacity as director. So would love to have an understanding of where you are. And again, you had the same challenges last year, although you were a member of the department. We didn't hire any new people. We didn't approve any promotions. So would like to understand how that impacted you last year and what you're looking to accomplish this year with the budget presented to us.
So last year was definitely a challenge. As you all know, I was hired by the municipality in the February of 2022. I was working with Mr. Lepore. I worked with him probably approximately 6 months or so before he also had to leave. And of course, and then I have my own challenges, as you all know, my medical challenges last year, and I worked until late May of last year. And the truth is that the engineering department is shorthanded. It is something that it was clear to me the moment that I walked into the door when I was first hired, because there is really no competent personnel in terms of engineers in order for you to be able to delegate the work. So what's been happening, basically what we have, when we look at our administrative personnel, we have to start us with the chart. I need an assistant municipal engineer, which I know is in the budget. It was budgeted at $135,000. I don't necessarily agree with the salary that it was put in, since I believe that the salary will be established at the time that we do the interview, and also the, I would say, capabilities and experience of the person for the assistant municipal engineer. So I don't think the starting salary will be at 135. It all depends, obviously, on the experience in municipal work.
What would be the salary of an
Councilwoman.
experienced person? What would be the starting salary for an experienced
It
assistant
depends
municipal
on the years
engineer?
of experience. If you're looking to hire somebody between 5 to 10 years of experience, you're probably looking at a salary an average of $115,000. If you're looking at somebody like me.
150? I'm sorry, you asked that.
115.
115.
If you're looking at somebody like me with 20+ years experience, then you're looking at a salary, let's say, of what, probably 125 or so.
And in the budget is 135?
One budget is
Does
135.
that include benefits or is that just salary?
That's just
salary.
salary. And that's put in there to give as much flexibility as possible, acknowledging that they're, depending on who the applicant is, it gives the township the ability to be able to attract.
So is that up to?
Because it's in there doesn't mean you have to spend it. In terms of, when we look at salary, we obviously look to get quality people at the best price we can get them at. And
So I have a couple of questions as it relates to salary, since we started there. When you first, what page are we on for you?
75.
And I guess I'm asking these questions when you started,
74 it starts, right?
Yeah, but the salaries were on 75.
when you started, did you start at 135 up to?
No, I started at 124.
Okay. And then at 124, 20 plus years of experience was an adequate salary range?
Well, I took a pay cut. I
Thank
was
you.
making more than that where I was.
So you were working private sector before?
Yes.
Okay.
I have worked in the private sector for over 20 years.
And so the transition from private to
I thought actually like making the move to the, to the public
municipal?
sector, the municipal, was gonna be a little more slower pace, but it turned out to be, I am working,
Surprise.
a lot more hours than I was expecting to. I was working probably 70 to 80 hours a week, and I'm right now working probably 70 hours. At least 60 in a good week in
And
order
if
to
you,
get the work done.
if you had an assistant municipal engineer, that would certainly alleviate some of that time.
Certainly.
How would you
Personal
train
experience.
that person? What if that person needs to be trained? Wouldn't that
It
kind of,
doesn't necessarily means that it needs to be trained. For example, when I was hired, right? Mr. Laporte didn't have to sit down with me and explain to me what MUTCD is, which is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices. You know that if you're an engineer and you're doing some roadway work, whether you're doing a roadway project or not, you gotta understand what it is, right? In terms of for striping, okay? What does it say? What does it warrant when you want to put a stop sign? It's just a matter of putting a stop sign. You need to understand what Title 39 is. You also need to understand municipal land use law, okay? Because the township has a lot of development, meaning every time that there is new development in the township, you're gonna have developers, contractors, right? They're gonna be coming into the engineering office and they're gonna be requiring to pull out permits, road opening permits. We also have to work with other departments, zoning, building, the Office of Emergency Management, and various boards in order to be able to also do inspections for certificates of occupancy. So I mean, how would I say this? If you are in this type of business, okay, doing this kind of work, if you've been doing it for at least 5 to 10 years, you should have some knowledge. Meaning the training should be, I will say, minimal. I should be able to tell you, listen, I need you to work on this cost estimate. We need to do this for a grant application, or I need you to prepare this for an inspection for a CO. That person should be able to know more or less what it needs to be done in the field. It's not something that I need to hold you by the hand. Like right now, I have an engineering aide that just started in March. I understand, and I understood from the moment that I hired him that I needed to do everything step by step. He has never worked in the engineering field. I understood also that he's going to school, and he will be going to school next semester, which I don't know what his schedule is gonna be. So I'm gonna be probably asking for an engineering aide position, whether it's full-time or part-time as well, because I need the assistance.
But that's not in here, though.
That's not in there, no. I do have some requests that I'm gonna be making as I'm, sitting in front of you, and I hope to be able to understand what, the amount of traffic, the amount of work that is in our engineering department, which I do believe needs personnel. It's been needed from, I would say, probably over a decade now. And unfortunately, it hasn't been the case. Yes.
There was a hand up over here first. Oh, no?
it's okay.
You done? Councilman?
So just to give history, years ago, I mean, Mr. Gross could attest to this, there was always an assistant engineer for that department. And when that person retired this is before my time, then they took that position away when there was budget cuts and that person was never replaced. Now, my question for you is the philosophy back then was to fill that gap with the consultants. How's that been working out all these years?
I'm gonna be very honest.
No, this is.
There's
what we
only
need
so
to
much the
hear.
consultants can do, okay? As a municipal engineer, you gotta do reviews for pool and grading plans that come in, okay? You also have to write memorandums that I typically give to our zoning official. If there is a zoning board application that comes in for residents, we don't charge them escrow. Therefore, I do those reviews. I do attend those meetings at night during the zoning board meetings. I have to attend every single meeting that we have with our utility companies as well as our road projects or capital infrastructure improvement projects. We also have to work on grants. Grants take a good chunk of my time. Not only, okay, true, we do have
A grant
many
writer,
strategies who.
So why are
assist.
you writing
However,
grants?
Because, let's be honest, I have to do the estimate. They don't understand how to do an engineer's cost estimate. I have to do it, meaning somebody has to go out there and take a look at what it needs to be done. What are the improvements that need to be done? What does it cost? So I typically have to go back and look at the different bids that are put out to bid and do sort of like an average on the pricing. So like we could be competitive and make sure that we ask for adequate money so that we could get a grant that is actually more in line with what we're going to need down the road when we get awarded and when it actually gets out to bid and gets built. Because we know prices fluctuate and right now we're at inflation time. Everything costs more.
Yep.
We also have to look at the different type of permits that come through our office. We have a lot of road permits. We have every time that anybody wants to do anything within the right of way, meaning you got to put a new sewer line or they have to fix it because it's leaking or something is happening. Anybody who wants to redo their driveway, anybody who wants to do curb or they have to do their sidewalk, they're gonna have to come through engineering and pull out permits. Not to mention the fact that we also handle the permits that have to deal with trees, the tree removals, the tree exemptions. And as you understand, you recently approved an ordinance for trees, which means the workload for our administrative staff is going to increase. Now, the administrative staff that I have in reality boils down to one, the one keyboarding clerk, Ms. Benevento, who is a keyboarding clerk 3, and we're asking for a promotion. Now, I took the liberty.
That's not on here, though.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
The promotion's not on here. I don't see it. Oh, I do see it. Okay,
Yeah.
I do see it. That's at the top.
And then,
Yep. That's the promotion.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
so I
that you
took
didn't
the
get
liberty.
last year.
Okay, no, I wasn't going to. So I took the liberty actually to look at the different administrative assistant, keyboarding clerk compensation promotion. So I went ahead and I created this little chart, which I'm gonna pass around for everybody. And I want to talk a little about the keyboarding clerk in our department. The truth be told, Ms. Benevento is crucial to our department to run. She not only assists the engineering department, but she also assists the DPW department. She's the only one in our department that can actually handle permits. Okay? She is very competent and very pleasant to work with. And also the residents constantly say to her, is very nice, like, compared to other municipalities, I guess that they call, how nice she is and how helpful she is. But she also is very competent. And I want you to look at this because I do believe that Ms. Benevento deserves an increase in salary that is more in line with the average of the promotions that I saw in the list for administrative clerk, considering that Ms. Benevento does a lot of work. She not only handles the permits, she also assists me every time that we put out RFPs, requests for proposals. I write them up, I send them out to the consultants, they come back, I review them, and I make a decision on which consultant is gonna get awarded the contract for professional services. She's capable of actually, once I tell her, listen, here it is. Can you please write a resolution, draft a resolution, and draft the cover letter to the council? She does that pretty well. Very small changes will ever need to be made. So it's someone that is very capable of assisting me. She also handles the tree permits. Every time that there's a tree permit for Mr. Kip, she assists him with the letters that have to go out to the residents. as well as the exemption, 3 permits that need to be filled out, and also the contractors that come in with all the different permits. I mean, she does a lot of work. And I mean, a lot, for
And
somebody
she's
in this
currently a
position.
Keyboard clerk 3.
Yes, she is. She's been with the department for approximately 4.5 years. She has been a quick learner from the moment that she started.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure, no problem.
Mr. Gross, assuming the information on this spreadsheet is accurate, is there a reason why all of these keyboard clerk 2s are seeing higher additional compensation than
Oh, my
a
God.
keyboard clerk 3? It looks like, I mean, she is a keyboarding clerk 3 on this budget. I know it says administrative clerk on the spreadsheet that the director put together for us, Carvalho. But she's classified as keyboarding clerk 3. And, I only see one other keyboarding clerk 3 identified. I think there's at least one other on here. And
Yeah.
both of them are about twice as much in additional compensation. Is that not right?
Oh, you mean as far as the promotion is
Yeah,
concerned?
for that position, that's
Depends on
what.
where
Yeah.
you are, because when you get promoted, you go to the next step above. Into the new position, to the
Yeah.
next step, wherever it is. So depending on where you are,
Where you're on the salary guide.
that change could be, is different,
So, and then my follow-up question to that is how much discretion is allowed with regard to additional compensation? Is that,
Well, these are all union contracts, so there's no discretion. We have a practice.
so if the council was to say, we don't want to give anyone additional compensation, that would not be allowed by
No,
the
it's all,
contract?
it's contractual though. You have to.
Everyone gets steps by
Position, yeah.
contract. So we have to meet our contractual, whether you fund it or not, we have to meet our contractual
Yeah.
obligations. So if the council said, no, we're not gonna budget more money for steps, then we would have to look at then whether or not we had a reduction in force or how we would deal with that, because we have a contract that says this is what you pay people.
You would have to
So,
negotiate that.
so
on
the
your-
other
You can't pay
impact-
more and you can't pay less.
You
I'm
can or
certainly-
cannot pay more or less?
No.
You
have to
cannot
look
pay,
at-
you cannot pay more and you cannot pay less.
Okay.
So certainly more than empathetic to the director's concerns and agree with everything that she's saying. Having said that, we are between civil service and our contracts, we have certain limitations. The key about getting this particular employee into the administrative clerk's position is that has a higher
Cap.
cap.
Higher
You know,
cap.
The top salary is higher, so she will over time move up much higher than where she is now. Whereas her
She'll
current
change on
position,
the top.
she's either at or near the top.
Councilman Scarpa and then Councilwoman Williams.
So are you saying that all of these positions get the same percentage of their salary increase plus their step?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any way to give Mrs. Benevento, because I know I have deal with a lot of people with a lot of complaints and they say how fabulous she is. Everyone I talk to raves about the quality of the work she does, her communication style, how accommodating she is. Is there any way to give her a different, to
So-
change
so
the
so
position
these
to
are-
give
these are
her?
These are union contracts. So you can imagine if we started giving out discretionary raises. That
Just
that
let
you
her
have,
do that.
you
No, we
have
can't. We
other
work.
employees that say, well, wait a minute, I work hard too, and I do a great job. Why aren't you doing it here? So.
Well,
it-
engineering
it-
needs to be restructured anyway. Can't we define a different job for her since she's doing so much more work?
That
and
becomes a
put her-
civil service issue. So for instance, if we created a different job of a certain level, she would either lose civil service protections, or if it was a job that has civil service protections, she would then be in that job provisionally, and somebody else, somewhere else in the state could end up coming in and taking that job, and she'd be out of a job. So there's a lot of tricky things that, we have to be careful of between our labor contracts and the civil service
Mhm.
rules to make sure that we don't, that we do the best that we can do for our employees,
Mhm.
and don't give them unwarranted risks.
Well, perhaps that might be a risk she's willing to take. It should be her decision, right? I mean, if we could create an opportunity for her to get the compensation that she deserves.
I'd like to hear, Director's response to those questions too.
Ms. Benevento is more than just a keyboarding clerk or administrative assistant. The way I see her is more like sort of like a combination of like administrative assistant slash, I would say probably an engineering aide.
Mhm.
I mean, she's capable of doing the payments, handling all the payments in the office, and like other departments, we do handle a lot of payments. We do have a lot of vendors. We have every single consultant that we hire, we have to pay. We have to handle all their invoices, their bills, keep it intact. Ms. Benevento does all of that. She keeps a spreadsheet, a log, which before she was there was nothing. There was really no records. I will invite you to our office so you could take a tour and see like what we inherited.
Mhm.
Oh,
Go ahead.
continue.
Go ahead. Well,
She helps out also with the contractors and put everything together for every time that a project goes out to bid. We not only have to put the contracts together,
Yeah.
she does all of that. She makes sure that, gets it to the contractors on time. Make sure that we get the signatures from all the different departments, purchasing, the mayor and everything else, so that everything is like lined up in order. And of course, handles like, scheduling my appointments, some of them, and meetings. So I do see her as an administrative clerk slash sort of like engineering aid assistant.
Okay,
Just to give
yeah,
perspective,
yeah.
the new position, the position of administrative clerk tops out at just shy of $84,000. So once, if she gets into that position, then she's going to then escalate up.
All right, before we go further.
Yeah.
It has been, requested of us that we not engage in this level of personnel discussion.
Mhm.
But certainly do understand,
The positions.
you advocating for this particular individual. Let's remove the personality. and
Okay.
Talk about the
The
position
names.
Okay.
without the name or the person
Yeah.
attached to it. Councilman Geber Michael had a comment, and then, Councilman.
Can't you hire her provisionally and do a promotional exam where that way the only people that could qualify are people
Or
within that
anyone.
department versus opening it up to the state? I mean,
Well, a
it's done on
promotion-
a county level, for an example, like,
A promotion has to go to a title that's promotable. So there aren't, go to an engineering position. It's not necessarily a promotion from the current position with civil service. So for instance, administrative clerk is in a promotion that is a position you can go to from the current position with a promotion. And in this case, we don't have to worry about an exam because we don't have anyone else in that department
yeah.
that's
I
competitive.
mean, usually it's just the resume anyway. It's not an exam.
And just so we're clear, this is not to say that any of this would actually be done. What and I think my colleagues are trying to do is understand each of these departments so that we can prioritize these needs.
Mhm.
And then, make some adjustments
I
or
understand.
recommendations.
Because the director is asking for more money. It's budget in here. It shows at 1,800. So how do you do that?
You can't. I mean,
There you go.
you can't under the current. With the only way to make a difference on this is to create a completely new position. And there are risks that go along with that. And frankly, depending on what that position is, whether it's a union position, it may or may not even reach the top of where this position.
Did you request, Director, a different position other than administrative clerk?
No, I did not, because nobody ever like sat down and explained that to me, that it was, I figured the next step on that position was for administrative clerk, that I know was only, the next step was only $1,800. The answer is no.
It sounds like she's not functioning like a clerk. She's functioning in a totally different capacity.
She does basically above of what her title is.
Okay, so then can I make a recommendation?
Well, can I,
Sure, sure, sure.
Is there a title that you can find within the scope of her work?
my,
Director?
my
Not
question
for an
is,
individual, what we're talking about is the administrative clerk role. We're gonna try and remove personalities
I-
from the conversation.
Yeah.
Councilman Geber Michael has a question.
you
So-
skipped me twice. Can I?
No,
and-
I said you were after Councilman Geber.
No, I was after her before and you skipped.
Well, I apologize, mistakes happen, but right now, Councilman has the, your question again, Councilman, was?
Is usually there's a list of titles
Mhm.
with the descriptions. Have you looked at that list to see what
Yeah, the job
description?
description.
What title she would fit in with a salary that would
So
work?
that may be some homework.
Yeah, that's not.
I know,
That's
but I'm
something
asking
Mr. Gross
for,
would get that.
yes.
Yeah,
That
that-
might
the
be
job
something.
If that's something that you can do, if you go on the civil service website, they have a list of titles, the description and the salary start and cap. And that could be an option, then you can always come
And
back
if something reasonable appears there, please do, send it to us.
similar. Where the
We'll
description
do
is similar
that.
to the scope of work that she's doing.
Okay, I will do that.
Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you. My question was simple. Does she not qualify for the position that you're hiring for?
For which one? Engineering eight?
Mhm.
Which one? Assistant engineer? Which position?
Engineering aid does not pay as much as this other.
Okay, so for the assistant engineering position,
Oh, no,
she does not qualify?
because an assistant engineering position, you require somebody to have not
You have-
only the school, the experience, but that's not something that she can do. She's not an engineer, she's not a PE.
So you have to have your PE license in order to be the assistant engineer.
More or less. Just in case when I'm gone, that person will replace me.
But is it an opportunity for her to learn? Is that something that she wants to do?
I'm not sure if that's something that she wants to do. I know for sure that she loves dealing with the public.
Okay,
She loves,
so we're just
helping
simply
them
looking
out.
for ways to increase her salary based on the
Yes.
workload that she
Yes.
does for you.
The title change is the best way to do that.
Councilwoman Kessler.
Yes, so this was, very great discussion and we hear your frustration. So my recommendation was gonna be that, within the restrictions that you have, if you come back and talk to Mr. Gross
Mhm.
and see if there is another position that she would qualify for, and then we can consider it.
I know a little bit about civil service, and I can tell you that any other position that would be above and beyond this would be a position that does not have civil service protections. Again, that may be something.
Well,
she has to
but then those conversations need to be had, but not, this isn't the
Right.
place for that,
I-
for that discussion. So what I'm willing to say is, we're willing to look at your recommendation.
I have one more question for you.
sure, go ahead.
I'm on page 75,
Yes.
and I see two open positions.
Mhm.
But on your org chart, I see like four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, because there's some that I'm gonna be making requests for that are not in the page 75.
So but they're not in this budget. Okay, so help us understand. That's exactly what we want to know. Help us understand what these additional requests are. And just so we're clear, have you also made them to the mayor prior to coming to here, or is this the first time you're making the request? Either way is fine. I just want to know.
I have made the request.
Okay, thank you. So please enlighten us.
So the next request that I have is to look at our administrative personnel, Mr. Glenn McCarthy will be next.
Okay, it's a part-time position.
He's a part-time position. He's been working for the township for over 40 years. He's titled.
Wait. So we were trying to back out of the personality.
Yeah. We gotta stay with the position.
So we're gonna look at this administrative analyst.
Mhm.
That's who we're talking about?
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna refer to this position as an administrative analyst. So that we're not using names in this public session.
So I wanted to request that the administrative analyst salary, be increased. It is a part-time position that is capped at $15,725 a year, which roughly is about $21.60 an hour. That's what it is, $21.60 an hour. Now, let's understand something. The person that is right now in this position is knowledgeable, okay? He does a lot of work for the time that he only comes 2 days a week, because it's 14 hours a week. Handles not only working with me on ordinances, okay? Drafting them, discussing them, also going in the field and making measurements for various handicap, I would say, permits where they need to be located. Also, when natural disasters hit, like Ida storm, this is the person that handles the FEMA process, the process in which the township gets reimbursed funding that they spend on doing all the, I would say, construction that needs to be done in order to put us back together and back up and running again. Also, this person handles the records or maintain the records for the DPW, engineering, recreation, maintenance. He also fills out all of the stormwater permitting online under our supervision. He also assists me doing grant applications, at least going out in the field and taking some photos for me. So then that way I could do the estimates. It's definitely someone that understands also how to calculate the reimbursements for the various private communities within the township for snow plowing, right? Lighting and paying for all the different municipal contracts. He also assists or attends the bid openings when I'm not available because I'm at meetings. I ask him to come to the bid openings and he's capable of doing that as well as doing all the bid tabs and calculations for those, and then I will review them. But this is someone that also provides me with a lot of, I will say, advice, because given his institutional knowledge and used to being the superintendent of public works, is definitely an asset to the department. So I would like to request that there is an increase for the administrative analyst salary of at least another $5 an hour. So that will bring it up to approximately $26.60 per hour, which is approximately $3,640 additional per year.
What was that figure? 3,000?
$3,640 additional per year. So figure 2660 times 14 hours per week times 52 weeks per year. That's approximately $19,364.80. If you subtract that from what is currently budget, that is the difference in increase, which is $3,640 a year.
And what about part two, analyst two that you're looking to fill? What are you going to start that position at?
That position could start at a lower rate because I figured that person could be a trainee for for our current analyst to start learning how to do all this work and all these calculations that needs to be done on a yearly basis in order to be able to reimburse the various private communities. By law, we have to do it. We have to reimburse them for snow removal, street lights and other
Just so I'm clear though,
Sure.
you're at, this admin analyst 2 is a classification of one step above admin analyst 1?
Or is that the
No.
second?
The
Or is that
admin-
just the second
yes, it
one?
is.
Is the
Yeah.
second admin analyst?
second.
Okay.
It's the
Got it.
second person.
Okay.
So administrative analyst 1 is the one that I'm looking
Yeah,
to
that's
increase to
mistake.
2660 an hour.
Got it?
And
then
the one below, which is vacant, is the second person that I'm looking to come in and start learning, Mr., Macari's job, because let's be honest. He's 70-something years old and somebody needs to start learning. Sooner or later, everybody's gonna start to retire.
Got it. And is that the 15,725? Is that the number that you were looking at, or is that?
I was looking for at least an additional $5 an hour, which would be $26.60.
So same 19,364 is the?
Yes.
And will he help you train that?
And then in that way, he
person?
could help train this new person that comes in, because it does take time to train and learn the position. It does take time to learn how to do all of these things. I mean, the work that he does, it is important.
So, oh, I'm sorry, Council President, I have a.
What is the hourly rate for the new person on this admin analyst?
I will
The
assume it
training.
will be,
The same as the other one, was that 26?
no, it will be
No.
slightly
Lower.
less since it will be a trainee.
Like
Yeah,
20
but
an hour.
20, 21.
Well, the person there now is
No,
making
making 21, it's gotta be
21.66.
2160, sorry, that was the number I was.
And that's
looking
gonna bump up to 26
for,
and
If
then,
we approve.
and then the two. So just doing the math and from
Mhm.
your beginning of your conversation,
Right.
so are you coming to where you want to lower the budget figure for your assistant municipal engineer and then take that money to these other positions? Is
Yeah.
that what you're looking to do?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
that's where you're going with this?
Mhm.
Okay. No, it's because I'm just doing the math in my head and I'm
Mhm.
visualizing that on your chart, so.
Is
So
that
the money
That increase.
It's no net increase.
It would
Is that-
still be a net increase if, I mean, we're at the first vacant position, there are 3 more.
were you
Uh,
looking to
Should
bump
Alex
all of them
just
or?
Yeah, I thought you just said you were taking the money from the 135. You didn't agree with that salary.
Yeah.
So then, so you have $10,000
$10,000
extra, and then
Right.
you have to ask for 3,600 to go to the administrative analyst position. And then you already have budgeted one position, and that's gonna be at the current salary, or do you want
Little
that
bit
salary
more.
increased as well? So for this
So
administrative analyst open position,
The training.
Whichever-
trainee, you're saying a
You
lower,
don't- Yeah, you don't
lower
need
salary,
additional-
but
I don't need any additional,
Okay.
whatever the current starting
Okay.
salary is, so it will be
So, yeah,
basically a
so she has the
trainee
money,
until.
just- yeah.
No, no, so just so we're clear, I may not be clear,
Mhm.
right? We were started with an assistant municipal engineer at 135. I think you said you can go down as far as 115. Did I not hear that right? Or
Well,
was that
budget
120?
124.
I would say at least,
no,
leave it.
he started
up-
at 124.
Hold on, please answer the question.
I would say probably 125.
Okay, so that's $10,000 in wiggle room. But we've got, even with just this one, this admin analyst, the second one is not on the budget at all.
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
right here.
The second
Open.
one is not.
It's on her chart, but not.
On her
here.
chart, it's
Chart,
not
but
on.
Not in the budget. Mr. Gross, is it in
Wait.
the
Oh,
budget?
actually, there is one admin analyst,
Oh, it's the first
part-time,
one. It's the first one.
that is on the budget.
Yeah, open
Additional
position,
compensation
the
should be
first one,
24.35.
part-time, it's part-time also.
There's an engineering aide. There's a keyboard clerk. And an engineering inspector, and those are not on the budget, correct?
How about the first one, the
Oh.
administrative?
One second.
On page 75, I see two open actually,
Right.
two open positions. One says administrative analyst part-time,
Right?
and then the other one is basically the assistant municipal engineer. Those are the only two that I see on the budget.
I see
Right.
those.
So I just want to be clear for my colleagues, because I don't think they're aware that these positions are not on the budget. They're not included in our budget figures as presented by the mayor. So two things we need to understand. Number one, if we were inclined to agree to provide these, it would take 4 votes. Is that not
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's
Right.
correct to add.
That's not a 3-vote majority. It's 4 votes.
Okay.
And 2, every one of these positions that we add will add to the proposed increase that the mayor has given us, unless we find savings somewhere else. Now, we do have some places where we're gonna find some savings.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mhm.
But just want to be clear that this is not included in her department's budget number as presented, which is fine. This is what we want to understand. For the benefit of the public, we have been at about 300 employees for a very long time. We have been asking town hall to do more with less. For now, we're in our three different mayors have asked the town hall employees to do more with less. A lot of what we've seen and some of the challenges we've seen in literally every department is that as people retire or move on, we just reallocate the work to existing employees and we don't hire someone else to do that job. That is fine in the short term. That is not sustainable over the long term. And now we have no less to do more with. We kind of talked about this last year, which is why cutting open positions and promotions was such a difficult decision, but it was better than laying off and either closing down departments or closing town hall in its entirety if we had to lay off 150 people. So now we're trying to address these issues as we do for the public and for these department heads. There may be some that we can do this year. And then next year and the year after, we'll figure it out. And that's why we've had these conversations. That's why I wanted you guys to bring this here. We're not agreeing to it now. We've not taken a single vote. But in order to understand the priorities of the different departments, we need to know what the full need is so that we can, then make an informed decision. Councilman.
So 2 points. One, to Ms. Caballo, the total number that I'm trying to get wrapped around once we reallocate 10,000 from the assistant position, the total amount that you would need altogether, what's that number? Because I'm trying to figure out the math.
Well, you're talking about all of the positions that
For
she's at?
for her ask. So yeah, so what?
She hasn't given us the full ask.
So we need that number. And then and I appreciate your statement because, when Governor Christie came in many years ago and because, we had to do this at the school board years ago, you had to, unfortunately cut a lot of money when you didn't get that revenue from the state. And that's where all these staffed, decreases started happening. And last year, the mayor did try to put some back into the budget. It was just a tough year. And all those asks are in here in this budget. These are additional asks that you have, which you did have some of the asks for Ms. Benevento last year. That's back this year. But these are additional, which is good because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a full picture because we have added as a council the past couple of years, a lot of additional responsibilities, as you noted, with the tree permits and all these other ordinances that we have passed through the past couple of years to the job responsibilities. So we got to see how that could be. So with all that being said and done, what is that number?
So if you could, I'm sorry, Director, if you
So-
could give us the title of the vacant position
Okay, so.
and the cost.
Okay, so the title of okay, so let's go back. So for the promotion of the keyboarding clerk 3 to, let's say, administrative clerk, if we go from 1,800, right, to at least 2,680, which I think is the average or the mean on this list. And then if you add also the increased request of $3,640 for the administrative analyst that we currently have, that brings us to 6,320.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
if, may I?
Uh-huh.
Mr. Gross, I thought you said that we could not add to the position of administrative clerk or take away because it is a civil service position. We have to find some other way to do that promotion or increase. Is that not what we just discussed? With the position of administrative clerk? So for the position of administrative clerk, and it's level 3?
Right.
So when we're talking about what would the ask be, you told us previously that salary can't be touched. Is that correct? Outside of the
That is the
$1,800?
salary for those positions. If you go to a different position, then obviously that may or may not be, you know,
So in this position, is that $1,800 increase more than that $1,800 increase allowable? To 2680,
what
15.
we have here is what statutorily and by contract, employee would be paid. Moving from one to the other.
So in
No
this-
oth- There's no other variation of that.
Okay, so in this current position, then we can't increase for that administrative clerk.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But what we can do is create a new position and not fill this, right, Mr. Gross? If we want to create a new position, which we're going to look at, that better defines the job responsibilities of the person that is due. So that's how we would
Any,
do it.
any understanding that any new position does not guarantee an employee a job.
Right.
It, it would be provisionally appointed.
They have to post it.
necessarily,
Right.
Or if it's a non-classified job,
Right.
in the future, they're basically at-will employees and don't have any civil service protection.
Mhm.
So again, that's a decision if you want to offer, if there's a decision to offer an employee that there's ramifications that come along with that, they'd have to accept.
That'd be like you losing tenure, Councilwoman.
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I'm good at my job. I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind.
But that's you. You
I-
can't,
I-
I mean, that's.
All
not
right,
gonna
let's
change
focus.
anything.
So can we go through, so now we've gotten the request on the administrative clerk. We understand the administrative analyst, the second one.
Yes.
We understand the increase for the first administrative analyst. Can you give us the financial cost for the engineering aid?
The engineering aid will depend. It would be, right now, that we just hired an engineering aid in March. His salary is approximately $25 an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And I believe actually,
30.
actually 2533 to be exact. If you look at the number that it was allocated in here for $30,015, which equates to 1,185 hours, I think exactly a year. So if we are to hire somebody that will be working approximately 23 hours a week, that's what you will need, which is not in
25,000.
the budget.
What would, you would need the 30,000 or
Another-
you need another 30,000?
For a second one, because I'm looking for a second one.
Okay,
Now, what about so if you hire these positions,
Mhm.
do you need the consultant less? Like, where's the budget for your consulting firm? Like, can you utilize what you pay them and put towards these positions, or they're not,
The
that's not the,
consultants are
that doesn't
typically
help you in
the
that
capital
regard?
Budget.
Yeah, consultants are paid out of capital budget that would. there'd be-
That's, yeah, so that's not gonna help here. Okay. Okay.
So is there another position you want to fill as well in a
Yes.
salary?
The next position that I would like to fill in is the construction inspector. So right now.
is that the one that says engineering? Oh, yeah, engineering inspector under construction administration?
Yes,
Okay.
because right now, the way it works, as we all know, public works and engineering was together.
Yeah.
Up to like recently last year, the departments got divided or separated. So right now, our current engineering DPW supervisor is the role of the construction inspector for the engineering department. I believe he might be retiring around around the same time next year. So we need to fulfill the position so that I'm not left up in the
Sure.
air, wondering who's gonna be doing the inspections. We still need an inspector in order to, every time that that anybody pulls out a sidewalk permit, driveways permit, that they need to replace a lateral because the lateral is failing from the house to the street. The portion that is in the street needs, anything that is within the township's right of way or the streets, it needs to be inspected. So I don't find it to be, I would say, so much of a advantage just to hire a consultant basis. Because if they call you now in the office, what am I supposed to do? If I don't have anybody available?
Understood. What is the cost for that?
The cost for somewhat experienced, construction inspector, I will think it has to be somewhere between $65,000 to $75,000. So that this person could be trained while Mr. Williams is still in the books and learn the ropes and learn how to do, inspection work and how we do things in West Orange. And coordinate with the utility companies and everything else, because it's what part of the Mr. Williams does is he coordinates with PCNG, with New Jersey American Water during the construction operations.
So right now, that position is under Public Works position? Oh, no, he's over there. I got, it was underneath in my paper.
And what about the keyboard and clerk one?
Yeah, Public Works, he gets.
We definitely need a full-time keyboarding clerk so that it could assist Ms. Benevento with the administrative work, because right now, all the work lies on Ms. Benevento's.
Yes, on the,
Position under the administrative,
clerk, or soon to be administrative clerk.
That's like $35,000, right? Entry level.
For the balance of this year.
what is the full-time annual price for that position, keyboard and clerk?
Salary is generally 35,000.
Keyboard and clerk the starting salary this year is 42 plus benefits. Your.
Plus
We just want
benefits.
the,
Oh,
yeah, just
yeah,
want the
plus
number
that.
that's gonna be consistent with all the other numbers in here.
Well, we also got to realize how much it's gonna.
Yeah,
mean, I
what's
get
the
it.
total
What's the
cost?
total with
40
benefits?
Plus the
And
benefits,
that apples and apples.
Depending on what benefits they get, if they get full family benefits.
about 30%.
Benefits themselves are between 45 and 50,000.
And so how is that determined? Whether they get full package benefits or not? Who determines
They
that?
pick that.
Mhm.
They're single,
Right,
they
a
don't
single
need it.
person chooses an option.
Sure, by the-
Choose an option.
not by benefit.
But, and then they pay a portion of that as well.
Not
So
much.
they-
Right, significant.
At this level, they probably pay about 15%.
Mhm.
Okay. And so the total, if we were looking at filling the 4 positions, or actually the 3 positions that are not budgeted in the mayor's budget, would be the $30,000 for the engineering aid, $42,000 for a keyboard and clerk at 72, and then anywhere from 65 to 75 for the engineering inspector, which is 42, and if we take 75, that's 137.
About $142,000, if you are to say 42 for the keyboarding clerk, 30 for the engineering aid, and 70 in average for the construction inspector. That will bring you to 142.
If we were to add to your
Agree.
wish list. Okay, thank you.
Anything else you want to point out to us on your budget?
Yes. Last but not least, me. So I would like to request at least a $10,000 increase to compensate for the lengthy of hours that I have to spend on a daily basis at work. Let's be honest here. Right now, I'm the only engineer on staff. I do have to go to the meetings. I still have an engineer trainee that I'm still training. He obviously going to school, and I understood that from the beginning. But I do have to stay after regular hours, probably until sometimes 8, 9 o'clock at night. I am here and I'm trying to do the engineering reviews as well as the engineering portion of my work in order to be able to get things moving, because obviously there's nobody to delegate the work to while I'm out of the office in meetings or doing inspections or whatever emergency might arise or occurs on a daily basis.
Understood.
Okay, so
Would that be?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do you have another?
Councilwoman?
So that $10,000 increase, would that be considered discretionary? Is that within a step? Is that within a salary increase permitted? How would that be done, Mr. Gross?
We'd have to look and see how we've moved to a step system as
Mhm.
well
Mhm.
for management.
Mhm.
So we'd have to look and see how that. I can't give you an answer.
So we don't even know if it is something that could be permitted. Unless, so is the process that we would have to find out again?
It is not, it's not there are not obstacles to do such a thing. There are always, impacts from taking individual actions like that. The how is what you're asking me, I don't know, I have to actually go look at the structures and see how that would play out.
Did we get this year a breakdown chart of our org chart and the salaries and where they are for our directors? I don't recall seeing that
No,
for
we didn't.
2024.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Well,
So can I jump in real quick? So a couple years
Sure,
ago,
let's-
I'm not sure if you were still,
Well,
Councilwoman,
before,
yeah.
when we transitioned, when we first came onto the council, we had a chart and it showed everybody's salary. That was actually part of the document. We don't have that anymore?
that was
I-
the
I
one
don't
year
recall it having
we,
salary, but not to check.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to- So that was the one, that was the year that we
stopped the
tried,
discretionary.
we stopped the
raises.
discretionary
Yes.
and we're lining all the directors up
Right.
equally because we had a lot of women that weren't lined up with the.
Oh, the
we put-
year that we actually did it.
Yeah, we actually,
Right,
yeah, we
right,
actually
okay.
try to make
So
it
we haven't had
fair,
a chart since.
fair and equitable across the board, so to speak. And that was because we had a lot of the directors that were on receiving longevity, and then some directors came after that time when longevity was written out of the contract in 2001. So we had that year where we tried to make everything fair and equitable a couple of years back. I guess it was your first year in 2020.
Well, I just, my point is, I think, I don't want to answer your question without actually looking at it, because I think there's certainly ways to do it. It's just a matter of within the structure we have, there may be existing structure which may just require a simple with this change or whatever. I don't want to give you an answer that's not, that may not be complete, so.
And so to that point, the follow-up to that would also be just looking at our directors and not necessarily understanding always where the salary caps or limitations are, but listening to the level of work. And obviously, we know that there's so much that goes into the salary equation, but we also just want to make sure that our females are making equitable salaries to the males that we have on board as well.
Yeah.
And that's a concern, because I haven't heard anybody else come and ask for $10,000 more money.
That all, the directors are on the same salary scale. Then there's questions about whether or not, there are reasons that there should be some differences, and that certainly can look at. But all the directors are on the same scale.
What does that mean? Because the
Yeah, I don't
directors
know.
don't get paid. the
They don't
same.
get paid the
There
same.
are
Well,
vast differences.
They're on the same scale.
many of them do.
Yes, they are.
Okay, that's not my understanding, but we can move on. I'm not looking to belabor this.
I think what
Oh, you
council,
can look at it.
to Councilwoman Williams' point, if you could please just give us a list of what everyone's salaries are, instead of us flipping through to say, see what one director makes on one page, it would just be very helpful to have that emailed to us.
Total salaries from all the different pages.
No,
The
I'm
one-
about the
directors.
directors.
The directors.
And just to give you an idea of like, what it's like, for example, last week, I'm gonna give you an example. I had jury duty, okay? The 2 days last week. I had to come in around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night to check fuel and asphalt price adjustments that my engineering aide had done in order to be able to pay the contractor and make sure that the payment was signed and ready to go for the next day. But this is this kind of stuff that I do have to do in order for things to keep moving forward and not be behind with payments with our contractors. But the last thing you want is not to pay them on time.
We appreciate that effort.
And just to mention, since the moment that I've been hired, like I have collected for the town in projects being funded by NJDOT and NJDEA, approximately $3.2 million.
That's great.
And that's from projects that were from 2016 up to 2020. And project that we have been awarded, okay, approximately $5.7 million. Also from DOT, whether it was municipal aid, local trust funds, TAP, also the local recreation improvements, as well as CDBG and NJDP, about 5.7.
Million?
Thank you.
5.7 million.
And this
I
comes from the
appreciate
grant applications
Yes,
that
so
you
for
have
the-
to come in
the
and
grant
do.
Applications, yes.
Right.
Millennial grants.
Yes.
Doesn't have the
Business.
capacity to know the intricate
Yeah.
details of
Mhm.
her department.
Thank you very much, Director. Anything else you want to add before we look for final questions and wrap?
Those were my main points and requests in regards to the personnel.
Thank
I just want to make sure, like, we take care of the personnel that we have now. They've been working, they've been doing it for a long time. And sometimes doing more with less is not the solution. And you can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
And you need to show your staff that they are being appreciated
We totally agree with you there.
and that they're not overlooked.
Right, right. Thank you very much. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
candidness and
know
I
your
just want to say, I think it is very difficult for our directors to come
Mhm.
knowing that they have submitted a budget of all their sufficient needs to the mayor. The mayor has made her best educated decision,
Mhm.
you know, to present her budget. And then, of course, this exercise is so that we can tremendously and truly understand how your department functions and works. And if there is any way that we can make some adjustments to supply you with the requests and the needs that you have. So I just want to acknowledge that it is not an easy thing to say I've asked, I didn't get, and now I'm coming back and asking again, because it almost puts you in a situation where you feel like I went to you, but you didn't. And so I just want to say thank you for coming to us and being very candid and honest.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I
And
have-
brave.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. I just, I'm just trying to do what is best for.
You're doing a great
Good
job,
part.
Director.
You
Yes,
are.
you
Thank
are. Thank you.
I need a quick bio break. We're going to take a short recess. We'll be right back. Just need 2 minutes.
You're back.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to.
She wears many.
Welcome back, everybody. In the, one moment, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to resume. I want to thank Director Carballo. We are now going to move forward. Mr. Gross, where are we in the budget?
In terms of Director of Public Works is here this evening. Address his concerns and his needs, as well as answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you, Council President.
Did we get your organizational chart?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the tape.
I was gonna.
That was a big tape.
That's paper. Work well. Yeah. that was yours.
Oh, here's an extra.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And what pages are we in the budget, Mr. Gross?
Well, it starts on page 77, it's building the property rate.
77.
Well, just saying that's where it starts.
Yep.
And it goes on from there.
I see it.
Salary and wages are,
81 and 82.
yeah, sorry, it started at 80. Director.
All right, please, proceed.
Council President, thank you, council members.
Yep.
So I was asked to put up a succession plan, but I was afforded this job. And I thought I was pretty practical with it and trying to get back to the days when I was here and where our line of staff, our department was staffed with everybody. You know, we had supervisor, an assistant supervisor, then you had skilled employees, then you had truck drivers, you had laborers. And we even had the effect that there was superintendents over each and every one of these crews, road crews, shade trees, sewer crew, to that effect. And, it's funny to say, everybody says, do more with less, do more with less. I go, I lived a lot longer through all that, because our first thing was attrition. That's it. We gotta live through attrition. So being back to back through attrition and then do more with less, where we need a lot. We need a lot. And I don't mean a lot by over exaggerating anything, saying it's this bad, it's that bad, it's whatever, but sometimes we get into where we're at with the manpower we have, and if I have two guys off, I gotta shuffle the whole deck. The whole deck's gotta be shuffled, and then we gotta say, all right, this is the priority for the day. We all gotta go and do this job. And then affording that, now I'm a day behind already, and then I don't know what's gonna happen the next day, or the next, demands that come in, which are high priority that we have to send guys out, take care of right away, do whatever. So with that, I asked to afford some, entry level positions, which are truck drivers. For us right now, it used to be laborers, but we take it away from that because, all my guys in my department, or you do your job and everything below your job. I need universal soldiers, and that's the way I'm gonna try to afford it by offering, by asking for new truck driver positions. And then there's also promotional title changes that I like to make within some of the senior guys that are here that are gonna deserve it, and as assistant supervisors to fill the voids where our supervisors are gonna be retiring sometime soon. I have one committed supervisor that has given a date already, and that's rather shortly. So, I'd like.
Which title was that? I'm sorry, you have one supervisor?
One supervisor that's
one is
leaving.
No, we're not
Yeah.
doing personalities. not
No, I mean the
names.
job.
Well,
Not the
when
person.
we're supervisors, we're supervisors of the whole department.
Oh, okay.
So
I
we
thought there
try
was-
not to classify ourselves as a specialist in anything, so.
Okay.
So that's why moving forward, I'd like to do the same with these assistants and afford these guys opportunities to get into position, get into place, learn the job. Why most of our supervisors are still here, and I understand they're gonna be using days and I'll be away from the place and do whatever, so. I don't wanna just say, let me push the level and go put everybody up in that high position first from within, because I still gotta build from the ground up. Still need a sturdy foundation. I don't want a house of cards I'm building, So I'd have to implement the right way. You take a few from the bottom level, you get them in, they start training. Get some of the senior guys, they start moving along, and they start training side by side with our supervisor. And the sad part is that I look over here and I look at some of the time afforded to these guys who would be assistant supervisors. They're here just as long as me and just maybe a few years less. And they might say to themselves, because none of this has ever been afforded to us in such a long time. I was a supervisor before this position for 8 years. Prior to that, all the supervisors, and I don't mean just myself, all the supervisors included, we were assistants for 12 years. That's 20 years gone by.
Yeah.
Without affording anybody else in the department a means to move up, so. Even if this is afforded to move these guys up to these positions, I may hear a little feedback, a little like, now you're worried about it? I'm getting ready to go. I may leave, I got 2 years here. It's not gonna do me any good if I had this and I go 2 years, whatever. I hope that's not the mindset, but, unfortunately, that picture's been painted in those last 20 years or, when, there's no moves like that. So I'm trying to hope to avoid all that if I could, my succession plan obviously is to create bench players. I need bench players. I need somebody when I come in and say, hey, listen, this guy's sick today. You're the next guy. Get in for me. We need continuity government services to keep moving on. I can't say, well, you know what? I can't come over to you today and take care of this because I don't have a guy that drives that specific truck. He was never trained on it. He was never given that opportunity to move up and do whatever. So how efficient is that? I can't, we can't run under that anymore or any longer. So, I asked, in my plan to put some of these new truck driver positions in and some promotional title changes from within to afford the gaps that are gonna be coming to us soon.
You have 12 open positions?
I have 9 truck driver positions here that I asked for,
Uh-huh.
and then there's 6 assistant supervisors. that I asked for title promotional change.
But those are promotions.
Right, yeah, but that's to make it from in with the department that I have now. But I see just 9 here for truck drivers for open positions.
So it looks like you got a superintendent of public works as an
Yeah.
open position.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry.
Keyboarding clerk, a garage
The
attendant.
keyboarding clerk, I don't remember putting under there. I thought that was afforded for Elizabeth, or is that for?
So this one, so like, we understand, Mr. Kim, okay, he does need a keyboarding clerk.
Okay, so
Mr.
that's,
Kim does get, I would say, probably more emails than I do. Okay, he spends, I would say, a lot of his time in the field. And right now, the only keyboarding clerk that we have in engineering has to afford time to do Mr. Kim's letters, process the 3 permits. We cannot continue to be operating, in this condition, because truthfully, there's only so much a person can do.
right.
And I do believe that Mr. Kim, especially now with the new ordinance that it was just passed and approved on second reading on Monday, Mr. Kim does need his own secretary or keyboarding clerk in order to be able to do his letters, in order to be able to assist him maybe responding to some of the emails that he receives, and also to be able to do the permits.
Right. Also, with that being said, the forester's position is a forester.
I'm sorry.
No, no. With that, what Zaja was saying, with the forester's position, it's a forester / truck driver position. He's barely having enough time to be the forester, like we just said. So I'm like, so the dual title in there some way somehow doesn't make sense. So I'm sure if he's just set on being the forester and we take that truck driver position away from him, not knowing how he's hired and do whatever, I'm not trying to get involved with that part. That's one less open position or a new position that now I need on the other side.
Is that included in one of these promotions or is that?
That's how we get.
I didn't see
Stop.
the
Forester
position
on here.
of truck
It's called the
driver,
truck driver?
forester. It's again, that's enabled us to hire somebody into that position. It's a civil service issue. I mean, he is the forester primarily, can be a truck driver, but the intention is for him to be the forester. So that really doesn't play into, it wouldn't change. The money that's dedicated to him is for that position, whatever.
He's on the other.
So.
Got it. Before we move forward,
Yeah.
we have Councilman Gavin Michael, then Councilwoman Castellino.
Okay, so I just want clarity.
So, I do agree with you, for too long in this town, departments and divisions have been operating with the skeleton crew, and you guys have been doing a really good job with what you have. Especially with this new tree ordinance, I do think I do agree with you needing a new clerk. Mr. Kip should have one to assist, especially with the passing of the ordinance. My question is, why is this salary so low at 24,000 base salary? And then the clerk in your office, Ms. Director Zijabeth, you were requesting 42,000. Wouldn't it be the same 24,000?
Or whatever the same.
I think I said at the time, 42,000 is the starting salary, prorate that over the year, you want.
Oh, this is a
you don't
part
need-
year.
You don't need $42,000 for the rest of this year. You only need a portion.
Okay, so it's half of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering.
So I'm a little.
Whoa,
Wait.
whoa,
Sorry.
You gotta, all right, let me know when you're done.
No, I'm sorry, I lost my thought. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Councilwoman?
So maybe I can help with some clarity, because I had got here early, was talking to Mr. Reynolds. So because the departments obviously were connected, now they're separated. So we're talking about the truck driver forester position, which is in your department. Okay, correct, because that's on your org chart.
Is that engineering or?
And engineering,
It's on your organizational chart.
it's on your org.
It's under public.
Forester.
Works.
It's under shared services. If you notice on the shared services in my organizational chart is basically the construction inspector / the PW supervisor and Mr. Kidd.
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
both of them
but it's coming out of your
are
budget.
PW's
They come out of your
Right,
budget,
yeah.
and not
No,
out
I
of
see
public
it
works.
coming
That was
out
my
of-
No, it's
question.
out of
I
public
understand what
works
you're
budget.
saying.
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no,
the
I get
departments are
that.
separated, however, we share services when it comes to the forester
Mhm.
and when it comes to the DPW supervisor, construction inspector.
Like the Board of Ed and us.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yes,
They
perfect,
work for both
perfect.
departments. Mr. Kip works with me when it's time
Yes.
to do all the road projects. And he does a great job with that,
Yeah.
and Mr. Williams, I would say probably works 90% of the time in my department when it comes to construction.
So are they split here?
But they're, both of them are under.
How do you have
DPW payroll.
Right, it comes out of my budget for DPW.
So
Both.
his whole salary comes out of your budget.
Yes.
That's what I
Both,
was.
Wow.
both of them, both,
Yeah, so you split the salaries between the two, page 81 and 90. Wait, what's the other page? 91.
I have a question.
Well, I'm not done. I'm not done,
Oh.
Councilwoman. Okay, so some of these, sticking to the Public Works org chart that we just received tonight. Could we just go down that chart? What is in this budget and what you want to put in this budget? So for example, the director is in the budget. Superintendent of Public Works is a new position. It's in the budget. What is on this list that is not in the budget? So,
I don't, well, on the, everything on here, so we put line of staff for each item there, so we have a supervisor. Right, so I couldn't put supervisors in right now, I don't know when they're leaving. You know, so I'm gonna say, let me afford 6 more salaries to the budget when these guys may be here another 3 years as supervisors, which is.
I think
Okay.
Mr. Reynolds is saying all of his open positions on the budget are on this org chart. Is that not right?
that's what I'm saying.
They
That's
can
my,
be afforded to the chart, yes.
okay.
But it's not clarified on here, like,
Yeah.
like on
So-
the director's Elizabeth's. It
said
should-
open.
Tells you what's vacant
Right.
versus what's
Yeah.
not. And yours, it just says. truck
Yeah, so,
driver.
so there's vacant and there's an additional. So anything on this org chart, there's personnel already in place and there's vacant positions.
Right, so
Is any one of these positions not in your budget as either a personnel or shown as a vacant position? So in other words, if you have, for example, 10 truck drivers, whether they're vacant, they're in the budget, but you have 12 here, that's 2 additional. That's what I'm trying to
Right,
figure out.
right. When I was asked to do the chart, they asked me to set it up exactly how I wanted to be moving forward.
Okay,
So that's what I did. I had other.
But you don't
charts
have people to go with these positions yet because you're
with
not
the-
sure.
Right, right.
Okay.
Right, it's
well,
just,
there's 2 difference. There may be vacant that's
Yeah.
in
And let's go
here.
one at a time.
in
not to-
here. So what I'm trying to figure out is what additional funds you need to make this work, because obviously this budget was crafted a while back before
Right.
Mr. Pelosi
right.
passed.
So that's why I
and
had
you took over.
conflicting,
Yes.
when I showed, Mr. Gross that I have all these, he's like, we can't do it this way with the names and this and that, whatever.
Yes,
Put forward your plan with how you want it to look moving forward.
okay.
And then we'll afford it on here. So that would be the addition of the truck drivers here, but I understand what you're saying we need. So you need clarity from that, and I'll try to forward that to you. As far as with the chart that depicts
Yeah.
the vacancies.
So for example, if you need additional 200,000, 50,000, to make this work,
Right,
what is
right.
that? What is that number? Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing, what I'm concerned with, forget about the ordinances and the additional responsibilities. We added buildings the past few years. And so, and the golf course. So all that is covered in this. So for example, I know you as Director of Public Works, now as a Superintendent of Public Works, like who's charged with overseeing all the buildings? For example, 10 Rooney, the golf
That's me.
course. I know you've been doing that
I'm
now.
still doing it.
So this chart gets us more in I guess, over at school board land, it's building and grounds position. Is that what this Superintendent Public Works is going to be kind of, or it's going to cover?
No,
everything.
because, that's where the addition for these assistants would come in. Like I was the supervisor for all the buildings.
Mhm.
So now if we can afford an assistant supervisor, I have to plug them into that position to move forward, learn that and take on those duties. You know, I don't want to say, let's afford 6 positions, not, eliminating assistant supervisor, make everybody supervisor. I said, these guys got to start learning the pace and move up on their own. And then
Sure.
when we do that, then moving forward, once they put in and see that they can take care of these jobs, then we'll move forward, asking later on somewhere down the line for supervisor positions.
Right. So right now, you're still gonna cover all the buildings as the director.
Every day,
Everything. I know, it's a lot.
every day.
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay.
Then, what I do, like, not to just keep adding on there, I still have a road crew. We incorporate it now with the other supervisor, but sometimes when he's out and does whatever, I sat for that crew too. So I'm out on the road with them.
And we have the vacant buildings that we're looking to sell down on Main Street.
Right.
So you have to also oversee all that. So, or the properties rather. Okay, so I just wanted to get that picture for everyone. So as we move forward, I may have additional questions, but I just wanted to get that picture clarified for everyone. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Scarborough.
So I have 2 points. I want to piggyback based on what Councilwoman Castellino started. So if we go through your department, the Director of Public Works and the Superintendent of Public Works are 2 different positions.
Correct.
So then each of these titles is a different position based on your org chart
They'll have
Yes.
job descriptions.
with a job description. Okay, so that means essentially your department, if you had everything on your wish list, would be
Some positions are already on the budget.
$47 positions.
No, I think it's 43.
He's
43, right?
I can't count.
43.
You have 43? Okay, so we have 43 positions on your org chart. How many positions do we have budgeted in your department on this chart?
That's why I was asking them to get.
I understand, but the way you were asking it was confusing. That's why I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying. So if we go through your list in your department. I see 40 positions. Is that correct, Mr. Gross?
Some of them are.
Oh, no, they're not even
promotions.
open.
No,
Some of them are promotions, right?
Yeah, they're
Right.
not positions.
So that's, promotion, oh gosh.
I got 42, so I think it's close.
But are those promotions?
No, I'm not counting. the There's 40, I did, my first go through, so I might have missed one. I came up with 42 full-time positions.
So if they're only on this sheet in the budget,
Don't forget the
which is page 81.
There's 2 pages.
Yeah, 81 and 82, because you already have people in these positions.
Right, but he has with his department 43 positions here.
Yeah.
So if he has 43 positions on his org chart, how many positions did we budget? Whether the titles match or not
Yeah, no,
is
that's.
irrelevant.
yeah, that's what
I
I
just want to
asked.
see if the positions are funded
It's
here.
very- I just went through, I came up with 42. So it's supposed to be 43, so I'll go through again, and I think it's pretty close.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what is he short?
So it,
Hold on 1 second, time out.
45. Counting
So,
45.
so how many head count do you have without open positions today?
17, right?
There, and then vacants, he's got a lot of vacants. 17.
We have 31,
32 is.
31
what-
and
yeah.
32.
I'm getting 32.
Well, is that counting the forester?
Yeah.
That's counting
That's
Forrester.
forester.
Okay.
And it does not include Mr. Pelosi?
It's close, so not
Okay.
close would be 41. That's what it is, I'm just counting.
Yeah.
Okay. So
41 on currently,
In the budget.
and including the 12 open positions.
So if you were to, so
By the way,
essentially,
the open positions that are on this list are based on that point in time that they have fluctuated.
Some have already been filled.
Yeah.
and then the salaries in your department for the starting salaries, are they consistent with you being able to hire personnel?
Not the starting salary for the truck driver for new positions. That's at 30,730.
Yeah.
That's just barely minimum wage.
that's half the year.
That's-
That's
Well,
right.
okay, so these are half the year, so.
So 60,000.
So if it's 60,000, yeah, I should be able to entertain
Okay.
people for that.
That's,
Unfortunately, my audience that I'd love to entertain would be like 25 to 30 to get them in the door, give us 25 years of service. Unfortunately, that age group, well, nothing to do with the jobs that we do out there, and they're all tech people, and it's hard to bring them in. And it may be hard to bring them in, it's probably even harder to keep them. If they got here, so it doesn't fit their needs,
I keep hearing and I keep working, and I know this doesn't impact the budget today, so I'm just gonna ask for a little, just personal point of privilege. But I think for a policy perspective, we really as a municipality need to look at some type of partnership with our students in the high school who aren't going to go to college. We really need to try and do some type of feeder program. We have it with carpentry, we have it with some of the other trades, but we need to really formalize something so that we can really create a job opportunity. That's one point. But I did want to acknowledge that it does appear that your wish is funded somewhat. Everything that you've pretty
No,
much asked for.
Yeah.
And DPW looks like it has been
I
funded.
think he's short two
How-
laborers.
Right, 2 laborers, but I also wanted to question, if I may, because I'm just going back on recollection and again, conversations, and sometimes your memory doesn't serve you well. But Mr. Gross, when we were looking to hire another forester in his contract, I thought specifically, if I recall correctly, that we were not supposed to provide him with support personnel for bookkeeping purposes.
So that was what we were doing as a consultant.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's consultant.
That was as a consultant. And we were
Okay.
paying a lot of money for that.
Okay.
So this is the.
So this is different. I just wanted to clarify that. So
Yeah,
again, just based on my recollection.
Funded.
Thank you. That's all I have. And to your point, it looks like you're gonna get, yeah.
Well,
you can-
No, so, thank you, Councilwoman. I'm sorry, are you done?
Mhm.
All right, Councilwoman Scarpa, and then I'll follow up.
I just want to understand the forester thing. Now, are we planning on moving him to a job called forester and putting him into your department, or are we keeping him as a truck driver?
He does have a job. He's a truck driver / forester. So
Okay,
he is our forester.
and we're
That's
keeping
the
it
end
that
of the
way.
list.
Okay,
Yeah, that. The rest of it is civil service
right.
stuff.
Okay, I just want to get it straight in my own mind. Also too, now I can't find where I had it, but, under the building and property department request, there was a security system repairs that were like 2,500. And I
What
think
page are you on?
I can't find the page.
I believe that
I
is
was wondering what that was. The mayor was
page
requesting
page
100,000.
78.
That 100,000.
77.
Yeah,
We've
77.
got requests from staff in this building, for security,
Mhm.
which we never really had in order to do that. The staff security will cost us about $100,000.
Is that really necessary? Do we?
Is
have
it really
security?
necessary?
Do we have
Security
Security issues?
at our building?
Our staff thinks it is.
Okay.
You don't go
We've
into
had several,
Okay,
incidents, right?
Oh,
that-
all right.
that turned out fine,
Right,
but
but there have been
have
incidents.
certainly caused,
Some of them
Sorry.
haven't turned
Right,
out fine.
okay, yeah, okay.
Now, which line item are you looking at? I'm sorry. Councilwoman Scarpa?
That was 70, page 77. It's called under building and
yeah.
property.
the
Department
security system
requests
repair,
for a sort of
security,
security
It's,
system.
it's intended, it's a general category,
Maybe not.
in terms of wanted to put into place.
The line item is,
That triggered the discussion.
Mhm.
It's page 788, 133.
right, 133.
Yeah,
okay, 'cause okay, I see.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, here we go.
Speaking of security, our cameras work
Well-
all around the building?
So are you satisfied with that answer?
Yeah, I just wanted to understand what the security system was, because and what we.
That's not a capital issue, Mr. Gross?
Capital.
No, this is not for equipment. This is gonna be for, contract for.
For security for human beings, for labor.
Oh,
Most municipalities
Basically
have
to
security.
create entranceway
mm-hmm.
that,
Like
Check
a
in,
machine that people
a
go
check-in, a check-in.
entranceway,
Yeah.
so that we can, check packages and things.
Similar to our courts.
Is that
And
24/7?
a check-in for all individuals who enter the building, whether it be a sign-in or something similar to that. That's normally the practice when you go into most municipal buildings.
Right.
Is there's a guard sitting at the door and you have to sign in. So when I go to other municipalities to get COs or whatever have you, unless you're truly further set down.
And
South
that's gonna
Jersey.
include Night meetings,
Mhm.
whenever the building's open.
Mhm.
So it's-
Like for council meetings?
Any meeting.
A detector, metal detector,
Yeah.
Metal
that was-
detectors, you don't necessarily walk through in every.
Well,
municipality.
listen, let's.
We're actually researching what alternatives have. We have a very limited space, so we're looking at what our options are for that. So
we want to make it safe for all our employees and every visitor that comes into the building.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
Councilman, you wanted to, before I go?
Sure, on page 79, shade tree operating expense. So last year, $52,000, 500 was budgeted, only $3,000 was budgeted to plant trees. And I wanted to know why. Why didn't we use the whole amount?
Which line?
It seems like a wasted opportunity.
Oh, the 201 street.
Yeah,
What line
And
item?
why
was it?
didn't we spend more? Well, first off, we used grant money wherever possible. We
That's
used
great.
capital money as well. So it's just a matter of how it all played out.
okay, I mean, that just gives us wiggle room though, again, for like certain asks, right? It's like, what we have to do in order to find you that $142,000, Director Azabeth, for those additional staffing is by moving money around that hasn't been used the year before.
But
But I would not
Just change-
recommend.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
change your
taking
tree
this out
ordinance.
Because there's no guarantee we get the grant money, that we got.
Yeah.
As well as in our demand for trees.
I know,
Yeah.
but
Right.
that's just an example. What I'm saying is there's a lot of fluff and wiggle room in this budget where in order to find that $142,000, it might not be that line item specifically, but if you go throughout this budget, there are line items where there's amount budgeted, but we haven't used it. So again, that's that extra fluff wiggle room to,
Just keep in mind, that's taking away from surplus, which you use as a revenue.
I understand, but we have a
offset.
big surplus and we just did the
And so
sewer fee,
That will
Mr.
have-
Gross.
That will have an increase in
And-
next year's.
Yeah, but Mr. Gross, the sewer fee, you said was gonna
Disagree
give us a
about that.
$3 million
It's
surplus.
okay to disagree. I'm
Yes.
just telling you that will have a.
Yes.
budgetary-
We've got a big-
those that are
we've got a lot of
interested in
fluff
listening, That
in
will
the
have a
budget.
budgetary. impact.
Okay, so I wouldn't call it fluff.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion. What I
Okay.
wanted to ask you, Mr. Reynolds, I see on your budget, I think it's 6 laborers. But I see on the org chart, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
8.
We're missing 2 on the chart. Oh, we're two people, 2 positions short, remember? We're off.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. So are you then asking for 2 additional laborers?
To make this work.
So the mayor's recommendation is not to hire more labor.
No more, yeah, that's,
So your org chart, you're fine with the 6 that are on the chart?
To have a CDL license.
right,
So
right.
if we're hiring new people.
You want them to have you want them to be a
Yeah,
truck
the-
driver?
The 6 laborers that I have now, I'm not looking to afford any more laborers. Coming in, you gotta be a truck driver with a CDL. It's bottom line.
And so just so we're clear, so then you're hiring truck drivers, which is that at the same or a higher rate than the laborer? Well, so I'm a little confused then, because on here,
Budget, there's no new laborers in the budget. There's only new truck drivers.
Oh, I understand. I get you. So your starting for your laborers is lower than your starting for your truck drivers.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Was there anything, Councilwoman Williams?
Yeah, just again, some of these observations are just policy observations, and since we have had one of the most contentious periods trying to navigate through a new tree ordinance, some of the responses to our residents are always that we don't have money to plant trees. When they ask for trees, when a tree has been removed, I know Mr. Kipp made that statement. And when you look in our budget and see that we only spent in 2023, 3,300, where we had the 5,200, that could have
That's the
perhaps,
conversation we're having on that level.
but again, that's a
About
policy.
not giving out that answer.
Okay, yeah, because we can't have budgeted $52,500 for trees. We remove people's trees, we tell them we're gonna replant people's trees, and then we have emails in writing stating that we don't have it in the budget. But this clearly looks like we had it in the budget. Mind for residents.
So I have a couple of questions on page 83 in the hard copy. Street cleaning and drainage. So line 70 says dredging brook.
Yes.
Is that a specific brook?
Well, we added this item in here last year, and I actually spoke with Mr. Pelosi at the time when we put this together. I requested the $50,000 because we are in need to start implementing, I would say, a program. We need to start cleaning some of the brooks and rivers that are municipally owned by the township. A perfect example would be a portion of the Roadway River that crosses Valley Road.
Is
okay?
that the part over there by the new Harbor Press buildings at the border?
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
one definitely needs to be dredged. Is that in this?
That will be part
That
of
was
it,
part of
yes.
it, yeah.
Whatever we can,
Okay.
whatever we can afford for $50,000. Obviously, we have to look at the state NJDP regulations, what can and cannot do with and without permits. There's also a limit on the number that we can do on natural channels.
Okay.
So it's not something that is gonna be able to be done all at once, but we need to start implementing a program so that this year, or at least during the summer or something, we say, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this many miles of brook or rivers, and then the same thing down the road, and then also start planning about hiring consultants to start doing the plan, so they could do the permitting. So once we got the permit in place, we could put it out to bid.
Now, does that include cleaning up? Because there's
Yes.
I've gotten some
That will
complaints
be part of
about.
the cleaning
Yeah.
as well. That's what
Okay.
we're having here, dredging and brook cleaning. Also, we gotta understand too, like our pond, Vincent's Pond, also needs to be
Right.
dredged. It hasn't been dredged, I don't
Well,
think.
close
in the past.
attention needs to be paid to that. That's, we, on any kind of rainstorm, we just monitor that whole entire area with the spillway, and we just afford so much time to it because it hasn't been dredged.
Where is
I think
this?
Vincent's Pond.
Vincent's Pond. up by
Crystal
the
Lake.
park.
Crystal Lake.
I only remember one time before that was dredged in my career here. and
Yeah.
I'm here 37.
Long time.
So I just wanted to highlight the need, because this is one of the concerns that has been brought to me on that orange border by the two new buildings, the
Yes.
Harbor Press buildings.
Yes,
There's significant debris, and it does need to be dredged when you have significant rain, and not even significant rain. You can get,
Not
you know,
much rain.
some flooding over there. So I just wanted to be clear that that's what that was for, and wanted
that's
to
what
raise
the
that as an
money
issue.
is for, so that we could start allocating, and seeing where can we start doing some of this cleaning, whether it's like, with our DPW staff, which we know is, we need manpower to do it, or we started going,
Well, we're hoping to get you some manpower for that with DPW, Mr. Reynolds, and Director Reynolds, Director Carvalho. I also wanted to ask with regard to dredging, so 50,000, is that enough to handle Vincent's Pond, these spaces on Broadway River?
Yeah.
And we have a major issue coming down the hill.
This-
So
To handle one.
So is the constraint labor? Or is the constraint finances?
The constraint will be finances, because we also need, like, in order to be able to do some of the natural channels and the natural portions of the roadway river, whether it's the, basically the East Branch, which runs through, West Orange as well as the Peckman River. Okay, those are the two main ones. We need permitting. You need to hire a consultant. Do some topography, do a plan, come up with a staging plan, where can we, from where we can do the work. And also the permitting process. And it could take some time, because anything with wetlands is indefinite amount of time that DEP can take. doing the
So
review.
even if you had the finances, you would not necessarily be able to spend them because it may take more than the 1 year
To get the
to
permit.
get the.
And there's
Or we
grants.
could look, or we could start looking at the areas where, let's say, we have concrete channels, okay? And see which companies might be able to get in there and start cleaning those.
Well, Mr. Director Reynolds, Director Caraballo, this has been an issue that has been raised to me from multiple residents along those rivers, those waterways rather, and they may not all be rivers.
It's been an issue.
We've
for
got it over
years,
there
yeah.
by
Crystal Lake.
the firehouse right below the senior building on Pleasant Valley Way. That's been raised multiple times. We have residents that have no ability to fight off the water any longer. We have residents that have had their backyards totally inundated. So if that isn't, if it's a financial constraint, that is something that would be a priority to me. I don't know if I could talk to my colleagues and convince them. If it's a manpower constraint, that's a different constraint. If it's a paperwork constraint, that's a different constraint. But if we were to raise that number so that we could address some of the natural features in town, we still
You're
would be able
talking
to.
hundreds
get work
of,
done.
you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And
This, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. This $50,000 is
Soft-
about,
soft
is
costs.
intended to be around the edges, things that we can do, that we have some funds available to us that we need to do, something we have to do
Keep it in
right away that
capital?
we can do. What you're talking, doing these as a major product has to be a capital
Yeah, it's capital.
program.
Are there
And
grants for this?
A lot of it,
Grants.
a lot of
There are
it's
grants,
money
is when I looked at
and
grants.
paperwork permission.
So,
Those are
so,
those are
so,
the two.
so are we actively looking for the grants now, or are we out of the grant cycle for those particular items?
So that DEP has its round of cycles. Fortunately, last year, they came up with a lot of grants. But they were not for the tier A municipalities like West Orange, because they're based on population. So a lot of the municipalities that have a lower population, they made them now do the same, I would say, stormwater requirements
Management.
as the tier A
Stormwater management.
municipality. And those were the municipalities that benefit from the round of grants. Unfortunately, we were only able to apply for a $25,000 grant that we did get for mapping. Okay, because we need to map our storm sewers, because we don't have any mapping for
Oh, my goodness.
any of that. Like I said, we're a little anti.
Very.
We keep hearing it, that's in almost every department. What I'm hearing from you is that we are outside of the grant cycle now. We're not likely to get grants for this particular type of work.
Yes, like last year, like I said, most of the municipalities benefit from those grants were tier B municipalities. So we're gonna have to wait until NJDEP or the EPA or any other grant comes out that is actually to be applied for, for this type of work, for the stormwater.
My follow-up, so I'm satisfied with line 70. If you look down at line 112,
Yes.
I don't know what the acronym means there, but I do see snowplow. Can you tell me what we're doing there? That's line 112.
Page 83.
Okay, that's, that line is 112, that's allocated for blades and things that we use for the plow systems, for our vendors for that, that's a lot of, through that line item.
Got you. And so the request was 15,000, the mayor's recommendation was 5. And are you satisfied with that? Is that gonna allow, so what we've seen is we're not getting as much snow in the winter as we once did, right? So I can understand the mayor wanted to lower that number. My concern is that if and what I've heard is a lot of our equipment is old. And so if we get a reversal in that, are we going to still be prepared? Because we are in these hills.
Yeah, this particular line item that covers this isn't our major plows or blades or snow equipment. This is subsequential stuff that's like the rubbers that go in front of the blades and stuff
Okay.
like that. So that, I'm okay with that because that's we spent it last year. Moving in, we did stock up on some stuff last year, moving over, so we still have some left. And so this should satisfy us for the rest of the year.
If you go back up to 110 and the item above that, it's actual snow removal. We budgeted prior year 96,000, we spent 135. The request was for 200, 135 was approved.
Like to have my request.
I'm sorry?
I'd like for our 2024, request to happen for that 200.
And this is not, and Mr. Gross, this is just the part that we do.
Well, keeping in mind, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, for the most part, we've already spent the money that we're gonna spend in this.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
because we're
for
by
this year.
December, right?
So, last year we spent 135, so the mayor's recommendation at this point in time was to stay with last year's budget. It's always good to have reserve, there's no question about that, but we, in trying to juggle all the different needs of the departments, the mayor felt that staying within last year's numbers was sufficient. And by the way, that doesn't mean that clearly if December comes and we have a big snowfall, we're gonna do it. And so we'll figure out how to fund it.
But if we were to do it, then it would be done would that come out of overtime? What would that come out of? If,
Wherever it would come from, whether it's contractors or overtime or whatever,
Removal transfer.
wherever would it come this year, however, this is not overtime, this is contractor.
and so just last thing is, we spent almost 700,000 on, yeah, is that what we spent?
No, we
No, we
spent.
budgeted 700,000
Yes.
on salt. We spent 279, almost 7, we budgeted, we spent almost 279. Why are we even budgeted? Like, if we budgeted almost 700 last year, we spent less than half of that. We
Right,
should
wait.
still have,
Right. But it
Funds
doesn't work
left
that
over.
way. You can't use last year's money this year. So that goes into surplus.
You don't use it, you'll lose it. Any
well,
of the items.
right, but it's still somewhere, right?
Yeah,
That
well-
money is in surplus, right?
It's in surplus, it will go to surplus. It doesn't go to surplus
Until the
by
end.
law until next year, until it lapses the year later. So your budget lasts for 2 years.
So it
Gotcha.
could essentially, that line item could essentially be reduced even more.
No.
That was my
No,
thought.
we're gonna need that money
No,
this year.
yeah. It was
We can't, we
this is
can't
based
use
on-
last year's money this
Right.
year.
Based on last year's winter, it was very light winter, so this is why this is reflecting what we spent last year as opposed to what we wanted in our budget.
Got you. I mean, because that line item to me, to Councilwoman Williams' question was, that would have been a place that I would have sought to cut. Given that,
The mayor's already cut it.
right, and we are getting warmer. I mean, I would hate to get caught flat-footed.
Agreed. I
But
don't
you can
sleep
take
now in
out
the summer and
the-
the.
Well, it sounds like there's some support to cut it. We're gonna continue to have that conversation
We'll cut it from 279
to, something lower.
with the salt. I highly recommend.
Did we
not to
just
do
buy salt? Was
We
it an
just bought a whole
emergency?
bunch of it. Yeah, about the cover.
Oh, the cover.
Yeah.
Salt.
All right, and just so that so we're clear,
Oh.
on line 114 where it says private, that's private snow removal. Right, and so we budgeted 264, we spent 194. We're looking to spend 194 again this year. Now, how is that, and and I'm done after this, how is that based on looking at Farmer's Almanac, NOAA? I mean, like, how do we make determinations about what the coming winter will be?
Well, first off, this winter most of the winter is already over for us. You have some winter coming up towards the end of the year.
Well,
For the most part, we've already spent the money. we're
our
gonna spend.
trends have been that way. Right, our trends have been that way. You and I are old enough to remember when you would
Of
get
course.
frigid days in October
course.
and snow in November, right? We just don't get that anymore. It is, with climate change, it becomes less predictable. So I just want to understand how we're making these assumptions so that we don't get caught flat-footed, so
Well,
that I don't make a decision to, or I
No,
don't
we had,
advocate for one.
we had a mild winter this past year. And so we're not gonna spend $1,145,000. So we make assumptions based on the previous year. It's not, we're not doing weather forecasting here. This is.
No, I get it. I think it's, and I'm not trying to, I don't want to, I'm being serious here. This is actually like, if we're basing it on what we've seen in the past and we continue to do that, we're going to get caught flat-footed. Let me give you an example. We didn't have a hurricane last year that really impacted us. At some point in time, we're going to get hit with another one. If we constantly keep looking back, we didn't have a hurricane last year, so we're not going to prepare for the trees to be down and all of these things that are going to come up when you have that amount of water. At some point, we're going to get caught flat-footed because we're looking back and it just becomes our turn.
You're not gonna be.
At some point,
You're not
we'll
gonna
get a
not
heavy wind.
respond. You're going to respond. The question is, how will you finance it? That's all. The question is whether you're
Yeah,
gonna raise
FEMA
taxes
covers some of
now,
that
just
too.
in case,
Right.
or you're gonna raise taxes later when it actually happens.
Right, or you raise a little bit at a time so that you don't have to raise it a lot after it actually
Now, I've been in government a long time. You raise taxes a little bit at a time, somebody spend.
All right, so
And-
I think I'm clear on how you're approaching that, and I'll take that into consideration when I make my recommendations to my colleagues. I think Councilman, was it Scarpa or Williams? Someone had
No,
a
I was just
question?
gonna say that, I was looking at the wrong line item. So I see their departmental request is 600 where I was looking to reduce, but their mayor's recommendation
Yes,
is actually what they spent to date. So I don't have any issues with that. I just
I
was.
thought you actually quoted the 279, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh, I did have one more. It says street cleaning. Line 200. Tell me about that.
So the street cleaning is actually in order to comply with the stormwater management rules from NJDP. They're basically required that every single catch basin or inlet in the street be clean. There's forms that needs to be filled out. This also includes providing outfall inspections for illicit discharges, like having a sanitary.
I'm on the joint meeting. I get
Like
it.
tied into to the storm and, odors come out and sometimes, we do, provide the information to the health department and we get the Essex County Regional actually out there with, Mr. Fonsino, but there are compliance, requirements that the township needs to be more forward with. Let's just put it this way, the township right now is not in compliance with our stormwater management rules.
This is for 2026 regulations, correct?
This is not for, not necessarily for 2026, but for the next permit cycle, which I believe ends on 2028. This one,
2028?
yes, 2028, but also, and let me explain this. We're supposed to have been doing this for the past, I don't know how many permit cycles. The permit cycles are typically between 4 to 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. So right now, we have consultants working with us, who just finished doing outfall inspections in the township in its entirety, meaning all the pipes that discharge to the brooks and rivers. And as a result, we're actually currently trying to do emergency repairs on one of them. And then the other one, we're trying to get permits from NJDEP in order to be able to resolve the issue. But long story short, is like, we need to be doing this regularly, not just when we have a storm and we have an emergency. This is something that needs to be in place. And the truth is, we don't have the manpower in DPW to be conducting this inlets cleaning.
Probably just shy of 5,000 inlets in the whole entire township. So, yeah.
That's gonna have to be allocated, let's say, little by little, week by week, on a yearly basis. So they give you time to do it and time to fill up the paperwork as you're doing it, so you're in compliance when,
What is an
you're-
inlet?
An inlet is basically, you see those grates, those are square grates at the end of the roadways on the curb. So here's the crown of the road. The storm water hits the crown of the road, the water goes halfway, the water goes in the other way. Here is your inlet, which is the box, so that gets into that box, it goes into the pipes. And how it goes into some river where it eventually will discharge.
So those are the covers that capture all the debris.
It's the catch basin.
It's the catch and the
Yeah.
catch
Well,
basin.
typically they're about 4 foot deep,
So,
typically an average,
so
some of them are deeper.
the mayor's recommendation on this is based on this, since it has been done in a long time, is that at the same time, when we're doing the cleaning, we should also do an evaluation of the conditions of them so that we can then either repair, which, or otherwise particularly may help with I&I as well. And that infiltration and what's the other? Infiltration and I forget.
Inflow and infiltration,
Inflow.
meaning inflow from the surface water, from
Right,
the
and
rain.
infiltration.
And infiltration will be coming, let's say, from the groundwater.
So if we do this phase of it can be done with capital. So we're gonna put money in a capital request for that. But at some point in time, whether it's next year or the year following, the township will have to start allocating funds here on our operational basis. Because once we get the first round done, you've got to then do it every year, keep up on it so that we don't fall behind again.
So you're saying the street cleaning request is going to be transitioned into a capital budget request?
This year.
Is that sufficient, Director, for the cleaning that needs to be done?
So I
Well,
will have to put a request for proposal together. More than anything, put it out for bid and break up the township into
we,
4 quadrants.
unfortunately, we have to break the title to 4 quadrants and then base it on that, so you have. Obviously, wherever, we'd like to probably start at the worst area ever, but who can tell what the worst area is if these haven't been looked at in so many years?
Right, so you're just,
So there's some areas that obviously they're gonna have more inlets than others. It has
Okay.
to do also with the density of the population. I would expect this area.
I was gonna say, so we would expect that the valley and
and
the downtown corridor, okay.
To have more housing. more-
Dense, it's more densely populated. Okay.
Yes.
All right, and so then what is, if I may,
You may, you already did.
so what would be, when we look to do the street cleaning? How are we going to maintain that coming forward?
You mean after?
If it's originally done the first time around,
Yeah,
that's like John said before, but this is gonna be something that's gonna be a process that's gonna go on. Maybe it doesn't have to be afforded the following year. I'm gonna assume within at least 2 to 3 years. It's just like tree trimming, you
Okay.
go around a whole entire neighborhood, you raise a tree.
is there any
elevate a tree.
equipment that is needed to do this street clean? I know, do we have any, does it require a truck to do it, or is it manpower?
There's a truck, well, 40 manpower
Yeah,
trucks.
we're gonna probably have to hire someone that does this kind of work, not just, and I'm sure there's only municipalities that do have and hire, companies that come in and just do the street
Right, and that-
cleaning and do the, cleaning of the catch basins and filling up the paperwork that needs to be filled out. We prove to be that indeed we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, keeping, the Clean Water Act. And also, we're in compliance, because most importantly, we don't keep up with this stormwater management rules and DEP rules. Eventually, the township could be fined. That's eventually what will happen if we are not in compliance.
The other thing to keep in mind is we're restaffing Public Works.
Mhm.
But you correct me if I'm wrong, Public Works work is cyclical, is seasonal. There may be times when our people may have ultimately, when we have a full staff,
Right.
may have time to do some of this work. So really, it's an opportunity to start to plan, go through and get it done with the capital money first. During that process, start to plan, evaluate what our labor situation is once we get back to full speed, and determine how much of it we can do and how much has to
And
be done now.
we reported those services in the years past. Once we finished up our leaf season
Yeah.
program, between then and snow removal, we went around doing all that, so.
So have we posted any of the open positions yet?
No, because we
If not,
haven't
we're
approved.
waiting.
Right.
Okay.
Are you done, Councilman Scarpa?
Yeah, I just have a general thought, like, as we look at like the development on, that we may do on Main Street, which could be significant, are we looking at these infrastructure needs and what, how we should be thinking about all of this? And it's always on my mind, and now I just thought I'd ask. the
And yes,
question.
you're absolutely right. When we do the capital budget, I do have it in there, actually, I do have it, budget, I'm requesting budget actually to do an analysis of the stormwater systems as well as the sanitary sewer systems.
Mhm,
Because what you're saying is correct, you're right,
mhm,
and it's worrisome, the fact that we don't have any mapping or any what we
mhm,
call hydraulic analysis to tell us are our sewers at capacity? Because more and more development keeps coming in
mhm.
and more keeps tapping in. And it is an issue because if it rains
Mhm.
and the sewage are running and the pipes are running full, then that flow is gonna wanna go somewhere else. And the people who are gonna be affected are gonna be the people who happen to be on the low end or downstream from
Mhm.
whatever the
Mhm.
pipe is running and might end up in somebody's basement. The street,
Or in the
or that-
street.
in the street for that matter.
And then impacting stormwater runoff.
And I'm
Exactly.
glad we're thinking about it. It's always been on my mind.
Account,
It's absolutely correct, and it's been a worry of mine since I started, you know,
Mhm,
working more and more in the township. And it is in my capital budget, and I have requested
Good.
X number of dollars, more for us not to only do the study,
mhm.
okay, but also to be able to have a mapping, okay, and an understanding of where all this flows, whether it's sanitary, where is it going,
Mhm.
so that we could start thinking ahead and start deciding for the future. Do we need another pump station down the road? Do we need to increase our pipe size? Because it might be feasible just to increase the size of the pipe. In other areas might not be feasible because of depth constraints.
Mhm, mhm.
So just want you to know, we are planning to do a workshop prior to the capital budget, to understand some of the longer term planning. And you will absolutely be invited. Councilwoman Castellino?
Thank you, Council President. So, to that point, you know, strategic planning, 5-year strategic plan, because it sounds like you have a lot of priorities that need to be all in year one. So I'm sure you're gonna prioritize that and present that to us. But going back to the sewers that you just mentioned, because even the developments that are on the books, like West Essex Highlands, like with that whole sewers, well, it's not on the books yet, but it's something that was coming. So how does that, you know, how are we prepared for a monumental project such as that?
well,
And-
if I could interrupt real
Yeah.
quick, so Councilwoman, and to your point before also is that, I know that sitting on the planning board, that's one of the things we are addressing at our meeting, so
Yeah,
it's not the save or catch all of that, but we are addressing that. That's gonna be part of our requirements for the planning board, is that we're gonna need to see these discharge and water management programs, because we anticipate with these large projects, especially something like a West Essex Island stuff.
And
And
how do we-
that's in conjunction with speaking with the director, about this. So, the planning board is, so there's a lot of different tools. We're gonna go by the lead here, but the planning board is
Okay.
taking,
'Cause, yeah.
up with that also.
Yeah, and how is all that funded? Is that does the developer participate in that? Is that,
well, yeah.
does that, that's my concern. I want to make sure it's funded properly.
And the pump station, so does that something, even with us with negotiating downtown redevelopment, is that the pump stations, so especially infrastructure down on the lower corridor here is well over 100 years old. Even older. Townwide, but even older down the bottom of the hill. So is that, like, those are the kind of needs we need to know, what needs to be negotiated in any plan moving forward, so that we could have the developers pay for
Absolutely.
that.
So that, you know, we had a spread meeting, a site plan, you know, we reviewed with the developers for the West Essex Highlands as well as for many other developments. And I typically participate on those. And sometimes I do sit through the planning board meetings. But I did have a conversation also with the, board engineer in which, you know, to require that they do something, you know, even their own little small pump stations or, you know, holding tanks,
Holding
what if
tanks,
they hold them on site? So that we don't have this issues of overloading
Yeah.
our sanitary sewers, because the truth is, every time it rains, okay, the pipes are mostly clay and the infrastructure is probably, now I don't want to say the word old, but yes, it is old. And we do have those inflow problems coming from surface water, groundwater, as well as the sewage water that is there already. So they tend to cause them main problems when we see those, like, I would say, heavy rainfall events. That's when we start to see a lot of those backups start happening. People start calling, you know, making reports of concern, and, you know, DPW have to be deployed and, you know, act fast in order to be able to, you know, address the concern. But yes, it's something that is being under our radar, and we're definitely gonna have it in our capital budget.
Thank you, Director. So anything else on 83 before we move on?
Oh, I'm good.
All right, so if you turn to page 84. Um. Line 114, equipment curb drain restoration. We budgeted 56, we spent 12.5,
Page 84.
page 84. Is that 84?
Street repair operating expense?
Yes,
Yeah.
street repair operating expense.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, that. That's on the bottom one.
yeah, it says 114, equipment curb drain restoration. Can you speak to that? To both your current request, mayor's recommendation, what happened last year, what that actually does?
This is just supplies taken out of this line item, yeah.
That's just.
Let's just go and say, I do see directors, here, Ms. Van Dyke, Mr. Kehoe. It is not likely we're gonna get to you tonight. I do apologize for having you sit through this entire time, Edwin. You guys, I apologize. We are gonna probably end up breaking after this and picking another night. My sincere apologies, directors. So 114, can you speak to that for us?
So 114, as far as what we look back for spend this year, that was just spent on supplies. Supplies were just taken out of that line item for repairs, lawn repairs, all kinds of miscellaneous repairs pertaining to streets.
Got you. And then I want to understand 112 and 200 cold patch and street resurfacing. Is cold patch for resurfacing? Also, what is cold patch?
It's a temporary mix for winter time. When they're not making hot mix, they make a temporary mix, cold patch.
Okay.
Basically for the potholes.
And so and that's generally in the wintertime, that's done on an emergent basis, right? That's not, right? So we didn't budget anything for it. We ended up spending 6,500. Are you expecting the departmental request was 19, the mayor was 65. Are you expecting to talk to that? And then also for the regular street resurfacing, line 200?
So you're asking for 112, right?
And 200. 112 is a cold patch, help me understand that, and then also help me understand 200.
I think what the mayor's recommending for the cold patch that's sufficient. That's definitely sufficient there, especially with all the road repairs and improvements that are coming on. So that part of it's less and less each year as far as affording those services.
Got you. What about the street resurfacing? Because it's my understanding we do that, during the capital budget as well, so. 5,000 was requested, 29,000 was spent last year, 21,000 requested this year, 29,000.
This
Recommended.
is,
Could answer saying that it's actually being used for signs.
it's being used for signs or roadway safety systems and guide rails, fencing repairs and stuff of that nature.
Well, I was gonna ask because on 140, I was gonna ask about signs in the part below. It says signs and posts.
Right.
36,900 requested, 2,500 suggested by the mayor. Is that to help me understand so are you using street resurfacing money for signs? Or are you using sign and post money for signs?
Well, I would say probably a mixture of both.
Mixture of both, right?
Yeah, because more and more residents are requesting the new LED signs. And I'll be honest, the LED signs are not inexpensive. They're very expensive.
They're very expensive.
Every time that somebody requests one of those push buttons with the flashing for the pedestrian crossings, you're talking about a pair. Each one of those is $7,500 with the installation. That's $15,000 on 2 signs, posts and installation and everything else. So more and more are asking for those type of signs. And every time that you ask, let's say for a stop sign, you're also looking about the same amount, between $6,500 to $7,500, including the installation. So
That's a capital. Is that not a capital? So why is it here?
they're not necessarily capital. We include them into our capital budget, like in our road programs. But let's say the sign gets knocked down, right? Somebody drove, knocked it down, it's no longer not any good, and it ran away. and we can't get the money, We have to replace it.
That's, yeah.
How often does that happen?
We include in our capital budget replacement costs?
It could. I mean, look,
So I'm looking for another place to cut a few bucks here or there. If we've got 29,000 on 200, which is primarily used for signs, another 2,500 on 114, and you got a little over $30,000, that's one of the positions we asked for.
yeah, I'd like to go back and take a look and see what that actually was spent on.
All right, so please let us know. Councilwoman.
Well, before we cut.
Sure.
I think if we can find it somewhere in the budget. To put one of those flashing signs on Main Street at Thomas Edison Museum.
Yeah.
It is extremely dangerous crossing that, especially at night.
Yeah.
And, I've spoken to the county. The county says the municipality pays for it and the county gives permission for us to install it.
Yes.
Pedestrian Safety Board, we meet at the Thomas Edison Museum. I parked across the street and went to go walk and I almost got hit by a car. About 5 or 6 cars didn't stop. And finally, it was a state government car that did stop. It's very difficult to see the reflectors and it is dangerous. And I don't think we should wait for someone to get hit and killed for us
And
to
this
do
is the-
this.
And I appreciate that you bring this to my attention,
Yeah.
and I will do the best I can to find it within my budget to address what you just brought to my attention. But this is the reason why we need the money to be here, because when times like this, or in situations like this, do come up,
I'd rather not cut it.
and I don't have it in my capital
Right.
budget because it's not part of.
Yeah.
my
Readily
money.
afforded to go on a line item, so.
Yeah,
It's not, the money is not readily available. It's very difficult for
request.
me to be able to get a sign, get a proposal, get things moving.
She needs the.
Yeah.
And I
That's a
would
good
prefer that
point.
to be in the capital budget, and I first take a broader look and then, work backwards from that number. Because you can finance that differently than you can
You,
this budget.
Yeah.
But I do understand your plea, and I understand yours as well. Councilwoman Castellino?
And that's, I'm not sure if I mentioned in one of the meetings we had with, I think it was in my sub-meeting.
People have
maybe
brought
with
that to
you,
my attention.
With,
Mhm.
when we meet with the developer, that's an ask, a negotiation item for them to pay for
Signs.
a light there, right
Mhm.
at Lakeside and Main Street, because if any further development goes as well, we're gonna need a light there, when we discuss that.
A quick look at what these funds were spent on doesn't seem to indicate that the majority of it was spent on those types of signs. And most of it is signs and posts and
Yeah, a lot of stuff
and
go on during the-
repairs of
Like
maybe
street signs?
maybe the
Parking
repairs where one got knocked over and there was other damage, so I don't really think it's primarily that. I think the number as it stands is probably needs to stay there.
I have a question about street signs.
Councilman?
So have we done an assessment on our street signs to identify which ones need to be replaced? A lot of our street signs, you can't read them.
We do an assessment when we do street improvement projects for paving, when I actually go out there and I have to walk the roads myself with the consultant. I'm telling them, I want this replaced, I want all these English to be reconstructed, and we do the inspection, I say, I wanna do a sign inventory and I want all the signs replaced, that's what we're gonna be doing now. Because the truth of the matter is, it is kind of embarrassing to have a brand new road and a bunch of
Absolutely.
signs on them.
Absolutely.
Leave a lot to be desired. I have seen that myself, and this is the reason why in all of our,
And that's also a process too.
It
The
is
signs are
a
up for 8 to 10 years, they're gonna fade.
It
They're gonna
is.
fade with weather, they get weathered and sun and everything else too, so that's something else about it. It's
I
not
think
just,
there's
not
something
complete neglect, you know?
That I pay different attention to because. I'm sorry, thank you. There's certain little things that I pay different attention to just because of my profession. So again, those are things that I see. People want their,
drive around, see a sign, stuff, sometimes like it's faded and it's of this color. I typically look at the phone and I call our, one of our supervisors, Mr. Morel, and I said, can you please, when you have a chance, please change the sign. And he's really good at doing that. But obviously, I don't do a lot of driving around the town on a daily basis. That's the reason why we're introducing them into our capital improvement project for our roadway projects. So that in that way, it's taken care of from the get-go.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Were you done, Councilman?
Yes, thank you.
Councilman Gilman?
Are we done with this subject? I want to go to a different.
I'm
page.
done on
Yeah?
that page now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we go back to 79, shade tree operating expense? I'm not sure if it's a typo, but under Township Forester, line item 90, last year 90,000 was budgeted and only $95 was spent, so I'm just trying to understand what that $95
So
is.
we got money there for the emergency backup.
Right, for
Forestry
the,
department.
Page 79. I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, I looked at that
I believe
myself.
that money is there as
highlighted.
an emergency backup for the forester.
for the forestry, yeah, so when we expend all these tree contractors with monies and everything else, this is implemented for a backup, just in case, obviously, anything,
It's for third-party
Happens.
contract.
yeah.
Okay.
In the forester role to act in place of or to supplement?
Forestry. Forestry, not necessarily to do the work of the forester, but to do work that's related to the forest.
Can you give me an example?
I'm sorry.
Can you give me an example?
There's tree trimmings that need to be done. Actual tree maintenance that is required to be done.
I thought I saw that somewhere else in here. Well, no, it is right here. Contractual services, that's not under that?
Like services and pruning.
Pruning.
You have $285,000.
Sure, but this money has been left there. We hired a full-time, that money was left there for when we have the need.
Yeah.
If we don't have grant, certainly something you can consider doing. It wasn't spent
Wait,
last
so that's what I'm saying, surplus or fluff, whatever, that extra 90,000 can help again fund the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions that Director Zeisebeth would like, and she needs $142,000. So instead of increasing taxes for everyone,
Just transfer.
we can just transfer that 90,000. That's all. That's why we asked
You know,
the question.
60.
Or 60, yeah.
No, we're just
We're just
thinking out loud.
explaining,
Take a
thinking
little
on,
bit
let
from
you know,
different
and also letting the public know, what our thought process is here.
Colleagues, anything else for Director Reynolds or Director Carvalho?
That's a lot of
I
money.
just want to thank them because, I feel that last year we were very, very restricted in what we could do as far as hiring so that our staff could function more efficiently. And I do appreciate that the mayor has really taken specific interest in making sure these positions were included in the budget and can be hired. I agree that public works, engineering, planning and development are really the key holders to continuing to grow our community. So thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for your forthrightness and candidness. And we look forward to working with you
Great, thank
continually.
you.
Anything else anyone
Yeah.
before, yeah, Councilman?
Yeah, so the pruning, my question with the pruning is, so in 2023, you budgeted 128, and then 891
Okay.
or 091, I'm sorry, my marking on that. So we just talked about the 90. So again, so is that like a cycle that you did all this pruning last year and spent almost $300,000? You're budgeting the same. Are you anticipating doing that much pruning this year?
Yeah, that's maintenance for pruning, hazard reduction pruning or removal and pruning and or removal altogether. So-
Okay. No, I know. I just know if it was a cycle thing, like you do it every so often.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of dead trees around.
They're changing over every 3 years, like, for example, Nestro Road and Mayfair, loaded with pinouts. So the whole entire area needs to be trimmed up every 3 years.
Okay.
And I think we're probably 3 years later than what we should be on that right now.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Anyone else before we, move
No.
on? Again, we thank you both very much.
Thank you very
Not
much.
just you, but all of your employees. I did want to say that one of the concerns that had been brought to me was a lack of mobility in DPW. So I'm very pleased, with your presentation tonight, sir.
Thank you.
I hope your entire department is pleased with it. We can start seeing some movement there as well.
Very good. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
yeah.
Mr. President.
Happy Father's Day for those that we won't see before Sunday.
That's right. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Father's Day.
I think this is a good place to take a break before we go, though. Did we already get another day?
Are we next?
Yes, we
Wednesday?
did. July, the 11th at 5.
No, that's ABC. That's ABC. girl.
Okay.
Mhm, That's ABC.
Oh, I
Good
guess
night,
we said
directors.
wait until today to see whether or not we need.
Wait, what's next week on the 26th? Didn't we book the 26th next week?
Yes, no,
26th.
somebody
Wednesday?
said, you did
20
say that we had the 26th on.
The
And you didn't
26th
know
is
why.
now the.
That was
20
a whole date, but you said you're not
Yeah.
available.
I'm not available on this.
Right.
Yeah, 26th, we're gonna be presenting to the general public about the.
Oh, you have
garbage
something on
recycling.
26th.
About garbage and
Garbage
recycling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what that
Oh.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have that-
where
we
are
have-
Doing that?
We're gonna, tomorrow, we're gonna advertise, it's gonna be the 26th here in council chambers.
Oh,
Okay.
Wait, you're gonna do what?
A garbage.
Garbage.
For the general public, Q&A, Mr.
Between the administration and.
Yeah, Mr. DeFeo is gonna come tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. DeFeo is gonna come in, he's gonna do some general questions, he's gonna do some general explanation. Then the public will get to ask and answer, get answers.
Got
And
it.
we're gonna do,
7th for the next budget workshop?
I'm not available on the 27th.
She's away.
Oh, you're right, okay.
No, I'm not away, but I'm just not available. I'm away mid-July.
Yeah.
Well, what's our timeline to get this done? The rate we're moving, are we going to make?
Can we do a Saturday? Oh, you can't do a Saturday.
no.
I mean, we're nearing the end. We're almost there. We've got seniors, parks, and legal. Is that it?
How about Friday, the 28th?
I can't do the 28th.
Okay.
I mean, we've got.
I'm sorry,
we've got
I have another
three.
commitment on the 27th and.
it's fine. I can
I can't.
on the 27th.
We've only got, I can't do the 29th because I actually have a funeral. That's when I have a funeral.
I'm sorry. That's sad.
It's actually, the funeral's on Sunday, but I have to travel for it. Yeah.
What about this Saturday?
Oh, no.
No way.
I got stuff this Saturday. Actually,
The third Saturday is never an option. So are we in July already for the budget? Is that
That's
what
what
I
I need. We
heard?
gotta wrap this up, folks.
I know that Saturdays are not great, but can you do like a half a day on Saturday?
What-
we needed 2 hours. We've got 3 more
Okay.
departments.
So can everybody do 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning? So I can go to
I
work?
mean, we can do like, say 9 to 11.
I
Can we
can't
do
do
9 to
it.
11?
I can do like 9 o'clock.
We do 9 to 11 on a Saturday?
Y'all gonna put a raise in here for the budget for me? Cause I make a lot of money on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, I give away a lot of weekends.
We're looking to cut somewhere.
Cause,
Yeah, no, that's not fair.
yeah, that's not fair. I work on
Let's get it,
Saturday
let's not do
and Sunday.
Saturday, let's pick another day, because later on in July, July 17th or 18th.
What about 8:30? Can we compromise? Can we do 8:30 and 10:30?
I can do that, but.
Where?
Just to get it over with?
This Saturday?
I can't
No,
do this
I
Saturday.
can't do this.
No,
and I
not this
can't do next
Saturday, it's the
weekend.
third Saturday.
What
What about the
No,
22nd?
that's my birthday weekend. I'll be away.
That's the weekend I'm, July, you talking about?
No.
No, June, we're still in June.
No, I have a wedding.
So the
Okay, what about
15th is
the
no
29th?
good, the 22nd is no
What
good.
about Saturday, the 29th, if we're gonna do 8:30 to 10:30?
I have not booked my flight yet. I will book my flight later.
So can we do that?
I'm gonna be away.
You can't do the 29th?
No.
I don't think so.
You can't do the 29th?
Why? Are you going to the
How
shore?
about Saturday,
But
July
is it the
6th?
shore though? Cause
all-
we gotta prioritize this budget.
How about Saturday,
doing
July
during the week.
6th?
Why can't we do it
That's the
at
4th of
night?
July weekend.
Like we
Yeah,
did
have
here.
It's not a weekend, 4th of July is on a Thursday.
Yeah, that's the 4th of July weekend. That's a long weekend.
What's the problem with the nights?
If it was
There's
a,
no
if
nights
4th of
that
July
we
was a
go
Friday, I
over?
would say
Wait.
4th of July weekend,
Wait.
it's not
So
Thursday.
can you just go to the shore late? Like,
No.
Yeah, there has to be some.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, let's, can we do
Yes, to
July
work.
6th?
gotta do.
Yeah, I'm looking
So we can't do this Saturday, right?
How about
One,
that?
because we don't have enough time to advertise it, right?
No, we have.
Do we? Because it's,
There's
today's
one.
Thursday.
What about, Monday night?
Monday night's good.
No, she can't do Monday.
I
night.
can't do next
I
week.
can't do any
Oh,
Monday.
you're
or
away
Tuesday.
next week?
Not
And
available.
the 22nd, Saturday, the
I
22nd.
can't do that.
I
She
can do
said
that.
that's her
My birthday
birthday.
weekend,
It's her birthday.
That can
and I've
respect
got
her.
it plans from a long time ago.
But I can't respect the 29th if you wanna just go to the shore early, cause I'm taking off work.
Listen, I could do this Saturday at
I can't do this.
8:30, no? Oh, you said you're not
I can do
available.
next Saturday.
So what weeknights are we all available? What
I
day of
mean,
the week?
We
listen,
have a council meeting on the 25th. That's
Wait.
our next council meeting.
Wait, can I
And
say
I'm
something?
away on it.
wait, can I say something? Because you might be able to just, I remember last year, there was a date that we could all make that you couldn't, but we still met.
I was in Florida.
Yes, if there is a date like that where I can't make it for whatever reason, but the rest of you guys can, then go ahead and do it.
So let's
that
do
would
it
be
next
the 29th.
Thursday, the 27th.
The
That's
20
Thursday night. You're the one that can't make Thursday. She can't make Thursday.
I can't make next
Okay,
Thursday. I have
then
a
let's
prior
go.
commitment that I,
Let's go with the 27th.
been on my schedule.
All right, so you can give me your notes and we'll.
Give us your notes and then we
Yes,
move forward.
yes.
Okay, so let's say. the
So let's just
27th.
schedule
We
it.
can make-
One
we
to
can go
7
later.
o'clock.
I mean, you don't really have to, like, I should be done.
No, for me, later is better because I have to set up for a downtown Thursday. That's what I'm
6:30?
planning.
6. Okay.
6:30, Thursday, the 27th?
And we have the.
I mean, you can watch the tape. If you have any questions.
6:30, 27th.
We
Is
gotta
that-
get, yeah. 'cause
are we
gotta
good
get
on
this
that?
done.
Yes,
Yeah.
Are you good on that, Mr. Gross? Mr. Smeraldo?
and we're saying 6:30.
Yeah.
Is that good for you?
No good?
6:30 is fine.
Okay. I just-
No, I'm asking,
Yeah,
I'm confirming
okay.
the time.
Yeah, we're good. So 6:30 it is. Let's
On
do
June
that.
27th, 6:30 PM.
So we'll be here the 26th for the garbage.
The 25th for the.
Council.
meeting.
Council
And
meeting.
the
So it's
27th for the.
Well,
We're not here for garbage.
Another relay in the work.
We're not involved in garbage. We're just here because of the list.
Yeah,
we're gonna be here.
Yeah.
Right, like.
Yeah, it's, that's not, just so you know, the 26th is not an official meeting for the council, not,
Right.
it's at the
Yeah.
council.
Yeah,
meeting.
that's
For the
administration.
Yeah,
public.
and-
Right,
But
but you
it-
know
but-
we're gonna have to be.
Yeah, you're gonna be here, but it's not an official
Yeah.
meeting for you guys,
Yeah.
so that's,
Got it.
it's a Q and A.
Understood. All right, so we're good on the 27th
At
at
6:30.
6:30. That's Thursday,
Yeah.
the 27th at 6:30.
I said the public knows
And
that.
that's gonna be a long meeting because it's,
It's hopefully 2 hours.
Yeah, but it's,
we've got 3 departments.
What
We only
time
did,
is your garbage?
We have 3 departments.
Yeah, but see-
Joe, what time we doing the garbage? 6 o'clock or 6:30? Yeah, 6:30 to 8:30 or 6:30 to 8:30.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a long.
We're gonna advertise that tomorrow. We just finalized it all today.
Hopefully, let's
Yeah.
stay late Thursday.
well, I won't be.
Yeah, we
here.
wanted to make sure.
Day is on the 25th of June, lady.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
All right, so
I make a
Thursday the
motion-
27th, we're gonna start at 6:30. We do not anticipate it being an early night.
Had plans for Monday.
Sorry. I hope there's no
I
basketball
don't
game.
have your, birthday on the 24th.
Let's entertain a motion to close.
So-
Second, so moved. I mean, so moved. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Want to thank all of you for being with us tonight, the administration, all the department heads, and my colleagues.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Star, and happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Next Father's Day.
Father's Day.